two, 1, 2. I want to put it down. I want just get enough. That, that is, this will be the volume for. Oh, okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Very good afternoon to everyone here in the room, and of course those who are viewing us on the World Wide Web. I'm Steve Blackett, I'm the General Secretary of the Friends of Democracy, and I want to welcome you to the Friends of Democracy on the Front Step meeting. It's a series that was initiated by the party to address some of the pertinent and relevant issues that are affecting Bajans, and also to provide a conduit to ventilate our policy positions and expose our prospective candidates to the public. And when I say prospective candidates, I don't mean myself, because you would never see the name Steve Blackett on a ballot paper again, but nevertheless we have some attractive candidates that we will be presenting to you as the time goes by. I want to welcome the audience here in the room, our members of the Friends of Democracy who have journeyed from their several homes to be with us, to give us your moral support. As usual, I want to say a very big thank you to all of you, and also to the members of the public who will be online, the online audience, both the viewership and the listenership. And of course, those of you who are within the hearing of our voice here at Dash Gap Bank Hall and Hill Road and the 1st and 2nd Avenue Bank Hall, I want to welcome you also to this meeting. I want also to thank the proprietor of J-Scape Bar and Lounge for facilitating our presence here this afternoon and accommodating us in your wonderful facilities here at J-Scape. This afternoon, we're going to bring you the political gospel according to the Friends of Democracy, and also to support especially the candidate for this constituency, Raymond Wiggins. He has been laboring in the vineyard since 2018, and this afternoon we are going to introduce him formally to the constituents of St. Michael Central and to Barbados and the world as a whole. So before we get into our first speaker, I want to ask our friend Errol Hurley to come, of course, and to move the invocation. Errol?
Let us stand, those who want to stand, or if you sit or stand, we will still praise God. Almighty Father, we thank you for bringing us here this afternoon to preach the gospel according to the Friends of Democracy. We know we have a long way to go and a hard road to travel. But when you cover us with your blood, nothing is impossible. And I want to say, dear Father, Lord, bless this party, bless the candidates, and make it possible that the people of Barbados will be eased from their burden when Friends of Democracy is in Parliament. Let us say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins. And lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Errol, for moving the invocation to our meeting here this evening. Like I said at the beginning, I'm going to be your chairman for this evening's meeting, but I will be more than a chairman, because I will actually be one of the speakers tonight to bring you some valuable information. So let's move to our first speaker for this evening. He is a former soldier, currently a match referee when it comes to cricket. He's attorney at law in good standing, and I emphasize good standing, so he can't advertise for himself. But I want to say that anytime you have any legal work, the next speaker is the appropriate attorney at law for you to seek out. He was a candidate in the 2022 general elections in the constituency of St. Michael North, and he will be the Friends of Democracy Party candidate in the same riding in the next general elections. He's my schoolmate from the class of 67, which boasts, of course, of people, it turned out that people like Justice Carlisle Graves, James Paul, Lionel Merritt, and Winston Critchlow, who was the former principal at Harrison College, and of course yours truly. So he's coming from good stock, good school stock. It's my pleasure to invite to the lectern this afternoon to address you my friend Bertnal Ricardo Harrison, the first Vice President of the Friends of Democracy.
Thank you, friend General Secretary. When I used to play cricket, I never opened the batting. I would always come at number 7 or 8. But open this evening, it gives me great pleasure to the family of St. Michael Central to say a few words on behalf of friend Raymond Wiggins. Raymond, who will be the next representative for this constituency. Raymond assures me that he will fill the boots of the last decent representative this constituency had, that is friend Steve Blackett. He is a man of honesty, integrity, and boundless generosity, who has the plight of the poor and the underprivileged close to his heart. He is no political grasshopper or Barbie doll, whose only interest is to get in the house. Neither does he owe the butcher, the baker, and the election worker. This evening, friends, there are a few things which trouble me, and I know they trouble you as well as right-thinking Barbadians. First of all, I want to have a quick look at this immigration bill. Now, we are at the Friends of Democracy. We are not xenophobic. We love our Caribbean brothers and sisters. We welcome them. But there is something rotten in Denmark. I say that because currently Barbadians are under pressure where the health services are concerned. They are under pressure where the school system is concerned. Since the Barbados Labour Party came to power, no school has ever started on time. Some time ago, the Barbados Labour Party government threatened to bring in 80,000 Irish people to supplement and augment the Barbados population. Now, can you imagine for a moment 80,000 white people walking about Barbados, working at gas stations, working at Chifet, working at the security firms? So that didn't sell. So they've gone on and approached it a different way. They've decided to bring in these CARICOM nationals. And also, I don't know if you're aware, but we've seen a lot of Chinese, Asian, and other distinguished groups operating in Barbados, and we don't know what their voting status is. Some time ago, you had to be here for 12 months or 3 years, I think, to be a qualified voter. We don't know what Ms. Morley's plan is with these CARICOM nationals that she's bringing in. And the question I want to ask you, will they be paying national insurance? Will they be paying payaway? Another thing that troubles me is the constant pulling back and pushing back of the various pieces of legislation. Now I would like somebody to point me to at least one piece of legislation that this government has attempted to pass that actually passed and they didn't have to go back to the drawing board. They had the integrity in public life legislation. But that went through the window because 3 members of that committee or that commission said, when I can examine me, I ain't telling them my assets. So that died a natural death. Then they had the cyber crimes. That means tapping your phones. They had to pull that back. Then they had the tint law, which to me still, we don't understand the reason for the tint law, but it was there on the books. We live in a Barbados, friends of democracy, that this government has promised to build some more islands. Well, years ago, Tom Adams did promise that he would put a C in St. George. But this crowd has said that they will build some more islands. We have not yet seen those islands develop. I saw some borders on this mighty Granite Highway, but those borders are for the redevelopment of the harbor down that side. This government has been and is guilty of putting the cart before the horse, just like Ossie. They continue to put on the shoes and then put on the socks. They have been guilty of criminalizing every single act in Barbados that was not a criminal act. And one remembers the COVID-19 experience. Now, the COVID-19 was a health epidemic. People with respiratory illnesses were susceptible to it. And the good old Attorney General said that if you found it outside after 8 o'clock, then you have to pay $50,000, I think it was, or spend some 8 months or something like that in prison. Now, pray tell. People suffering with their families, and you turn it into a health epidemic into a criminal exercise. And it gets worse. In former times, if a policeman was in trouble, he could shout assistance in the name of the Queen, and a civilian would assist him. If he refused, he paid $500. But this good government has now decided that if the police call for help when he's being chopped up and you don't assist, you pay $10,000. Again, ridiculous. I want now, friends, to turn your attention to the question of crime. I remember some time ago, the Friends of Democracy said that we should bring back capital punishment, reinstate hanging, give Adrian some work again. And we were pilloried. Some said it was rhetoric. Up to last week, we had an individual who was stoutly against capital punishment. But we feel vindicated this evening. The Director of Public Prosecutions, he didn't want to mention us, but he said a group. And he believes that group, well, I'm summarizing what he said, that group was correct in their call for capital punishment. He said that it might not solve all the crime, but certainly if you commit a murder and you get hanged, you can't commit another one. And one remembers the murder at Sheraton when that fellow was on bail for murder and he killed again, assisted by the girl who had won the Calypso competition. I stand here and I have the support of the Friends of Democracy. Let us reinstate capital punishment. We have ordinary Barbadians who are afraid to leave their homes, afraid to walk at night, afraid to wear the jewelry. And one remembers recently 2 cricketers came here to participate in the cricket tournament. And they went by a place to buy some soup. They sell soup. And they were robbed of the chains. And still they get the soup. I mean, let us be realistic. We are here in this meeting. And as soon as 8 o'clock comes, all of us will start to take furtive glances at our watches because we don't want it on the road too late. Because we don't know who will stop us. Barbados is not the place that certainly I grew up in, and my friend Steve grew up in, and my friend Hiron grew up in. Maybe the president, who is much younger than us, she does not understand, but Barbados used to be a peaceful place. You could leave home and leave your doors open and come back home. And they had a favorite saying, Miss So-and-so, have a night. Have a night. Those days are far gone. You can't wear your jewelry in tongue anymore. In broad daylight. Imagine an old man gone for pension, $300, and a big, stiff, hardback man attacking for that pension. And what makes it even worse is that they only attack poor people. They don't ever go to the people who have substantial amounts of cash. And I say that because all this government has been saying is to do a study. We've had enough studies about crime. We've had enough sociological interventions. It is time to wrestle crime to the ground. And I want to say this too. For those young men who don't want to work but want to rob, I say we reintroduce not the cat and nine tail, but the birch and the tamarind rod. For those less than heinous crimes, if you want to snatch somebody's wallet or somebody's cell phone, hold some lashes. There is a need for us to feel safe in our houses again. There's a need to feel safe, for us to feel safe at our workplaces. Let us, and I say that, and I believe I have the blessing of the Friends of Democracy, we will introduce corporal punishment. We will reintroduce it. Strokes with the tamarind rod and the cat nine tail. Recently, there was a song and dance about the police force having 28 special constables. What I would suggest is that to alleviate, or to assist, I should say, these crimes, that we invite police forces on a 6-month stay from other Commonwealth jurisdictions. They might be white, but hey, let us bring some new faces so that Mr. Ross and the one who's now incarcerated at the state's pleasure can buy them off or tip them off or brag about how much good friends them is and can't go to parliament with anybody anymore. Let us look at introducing police forces from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Let us look at introducing police from the Australian Border Police, and those persons, I wouldn't say they are pure, but they are certainly sanitized, and they would assist in the effective management of crime here in Barbados. Now, I want to turn to a subject that is near and dear to my heart. That is the subject of housing in Barbados. Yeah, there was a, as Aaron reminded me, recently the Minister of Culture, the goodly senator, celebrated that 59,000 people were at the regathering. But nobody mentioned that thus far for the year, 37 young men have lost their lives through the gun. Nobody mentioned that the government is taking active steps to wrestle crime to the ground. And we have to admit it, crime is certainly out of control. Crime is a taxi man washing his vehicle, attacked and robbed for his goal. Young man sitting on the step with his family, shot to death. And it continues. So much so that nowadays, we seem to be asking, wait, nobody get killed yet this week? No, we have become so desensitized that we're asking, wait, nobody get shot this week? You know what I mean? Barbados, friends, we have to do something about the crime situation. And as I said before, it cannot work by pretty words or fancy language or another study. We've gone past that stage. It is time for action. It is time to wrestle crime to the ground. Let me spend a few minutes on housing in Barbados. We've gone through to the last, we had our fifth housing minister, Mr. Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs is not promising as much as his predecessor. He has the good sense to keep his mouth shut. His predecessor promised us 10,000 houses in 7 years. And nobody has seen not even one of those houses. We don't know where he built them. We know that the only thing that happened of significance to that former minister of housing is that he was either retired, he was either fired, or he resigned. We know also that the prime minister has promised an inquiry into the $60 million that was missing from the whole project. She promised that about 7 months ago. Today, there has been nothing heard on that inquiry. We don't know who composes the inquiry, the board of inquiry, but the prime minister did promise it. I believe she did it, like everything else, to keep us quiet and to keep us uninterested. But we want to know where that $60 million in Barbados taxpayers' money has gone to. That's not $60. That is $60 million hard-working Barbadians taxpayers' money. And we want to know the state of the housing estate. Sorry for the tautology. In the Poolwoods, we have shells in Poolwoods. We also want to know what's happening in the 6 Rose development. All you're seeing is twisted metal laying on the ground, and this is taxpayers' money that we're talking about. You know, this isn't coming on the government minister pocket. This is our taxes that we are paying that nothing is being done with. But rest assured, Friends of Democracy is not only about criticizing and identifying the problems. Because if we stood here and identified all the problems that have beset us since 2018, we would be here the whole night. I like to ask people to identify one positive thing that this government has done since it came to power. And I use the word power advisedly. And don't think about the green garbage cans. But that's the only identifiable thing that we can think. Barbados faces a growing housing crisis. And this crisis is particularly so among low-income earners who continue to struggle to get affordable houses. I mean, like, every day people ask me if we don't know any place to rent. But when you tell them, well, I know some place, but it is $300. Or I know, I mean, there are cheap places to rent, but everybody don't want to live in Bellington Street, nor Greenfield. People want to feel proud in their own homes. They want to have a sense of belonging. And this government has not provided the the facility that people can own their own houses or at least rent a decent accommodation. We had a housing credit fund that was established to support households earning just under $50,000 a year. But what has become of that? If you apply to the National Housing Corporation for let me use the Bayesian term, a government house, it takes forever. I will tell you this. I applied for one in 1985. I hear nothing back from them since. A lot of individuals don't have the wherewithal financially to get a mortgage. The Friends of Democracy intends to set up a facility similar to what obtained in the old national housing that public servants and like police, nurses, and clerical officers, those who qualify, can approach this facility and get a loan to build their own houses. These houses will be designed in such a way that you will give them the bare bones, the outer structure, roof, shell. Thanks. When you get that loan, you will develop your cupboards, put in your tiles, put in your bathroom facilities, and make it reasonable. Let's start a house. We are also at Friends of Democracy committed to break this generational renting of individuals. I remember a lady came to me in my other capacity, 67 years old, and she said that her daughter was putting out the house. I said, but how come that after all these years you ain't got your own home? She said that she had a house in her mother's yard, and when the mother died, the other children pushed down the house, and she had to go back at the daughter. So these are some of the things that we want to get away from. We want people to feel proud. Well, those of us who own our own homes feel good when we can, as the saying goes, turn your own key. You go in and you relax. And you not only that, but you don't pay exorbitant fees and monies to the banks. When you go for a mortgage to the bank asks you for every single thing except where your grandmother was buried. You have to bring about 47 pieces of paper. We want to get rid of that. We want to borrowing money. It's easier, especially for the working class, because really and truly, rich people don't want the money. And the poor ain't got the money. So it's the middle class that we're targeting in this exercise. As I said before, 100% mortgages will be offered to public servants and private sector employees who earn between, let's say, $2,500 and $5,000 a month. So that it makes home ownership available, affordable and attainable. And you feel proud in your achievements. The mortgages will be at a reasonable, market-driven cost. Reasonable and market-driven cost. It won't be you paying a mortgage forever and ever, amen, because sometimes you go and take a mortgage from the bank and you're paying for 20 years. The mortgage is $200, and you're paying for 15 years. The 10th year, the mortgage only moves from $200,000 to $150,000, and you want to know what really where the rest of the money gone. And they give you some excuse about it being interest and all that. We want to eliminate that. We want to make life better for Barbadians, better for the average Barbadians. As I said before, there's no need to make the rich richer. Mark my words, there's no need to make him richer. There's no need, if you examine it closely, the middle class is being driven out of existence. Many of persons in the middle class, many civil servants, live literally from paycheck to paycheck. You used to be able to go to Puerto Rico, and where is that place in Venezuela that the Beatles used to go to get banned from? Margarita. And the other, Miami. Now, you know where it's go? Sheraton Mall, Sky Mall, and hope for the best. And the one that is just built out in the Warrens. We need to bring back the middle class in Barbados. And if you check it, all the laws, all the rules, all the regulations that have been placed on Barbadians have effectively done away with the middle class. We also, as the Friends of Democracy, know, and this particular area is close to my heart. This question of reverse mortgages. There are many persons in the 60s, some in the 70s, had to retire, but they're still paying the mortgage. We propose something called reverse mortgages. Once the technocrats work out the fine details, persons over the age of 60 who are still employed, as it were, who are still paying mortgages, they will enjoy the benefit of a reverse mortgage. I know the banks ain't gonna be too happy, but that's their problem. And to simplify a reverse mortgage, all it means is that instead of you paying monthly, the bank takes over the property, you don't pay anything. But when you transition, or when you're on a life, they use fancy words for when date. But when you leave this earth, then the bank has the option of selling back to your relatives, or indeed keeping it and selling it on the open market. Which frees up pensioners, because you're on a pension and you have to be paying a mortgage every month, something $2,000-3,000 a month. So what we propose to do is to implement reverse mortgages so that pensioners will have a little more cash flow in the pockets and be able to operate a little freer in their Saturdays. As I said before, the Friends of Democracy recognizes that many of our senior citizens own their own homes. But the struggle daily, when you reach a certain age, when you get to the left-hand side of 26, various afflictions of failure. There's the high blood pressure, there's the diabetes, and the other living expenses that you have to bear. Also, you may have children you want to send to university. So this reverse mortgage will put more cash in your pocket. And as somebody said, this is about preserving dignity in retirement, giving our seniors the freedom to access the wealth they built over a lifetime, easing the financial burden for the younger generation. Also, there's something that I always find amusing. And I can never understand why. Why do we pay land tax? I could never for the life of me understand why we pay land tax. My friend Karina promised me that when she becomes Prime Minister, the first thing she will do is abolish land tax. I said it publicly. Can't back out now. But we will be fair to the tax coffers. Properties to the value of $400,000 will be exempt from land tax. If your property is valued at $401,000, then you pay on the extra $100,000. However, land tax remains on commercial entities, government corporations, and business houses. There are a few things that bother me in Barbados and bother me personally. And one of the first, as my friend Steve said, I used to be a soldier, a military officer. I spent all my independence parades marching from St. Anne's Fort onto the garrison in mud and water. It used to hurt me when I shined my boots pretty, and then stood in 2 or 3 inches of water. Suddenly, the garrison Savannah, which is a historic area, is no longer good enough for the parades. I had a chat with a major recently at a ceremony that I had, and he said to me, Ricky boy, if you bring back the parade for the garrison, you get my vote. But it begs the question. Now, the garrison is a historic area. All the years from the 18th century, we were marching from St. Anne's Fort, the barracks, onto the garrison. Suddenly, the garrison is not good enough for the parade. I'm going to twist Karina's hand again. When you become prime minister, the parade came back to the garrison. That circus, that Kensington Oval, done. Kensington for 2 things, cricket and football. Old Story and crop over. The other thing that troubles me is, you look at my notes, the botanical gardens. When I was a little boy, and Carol could testify to this, we were little boys. It was a swamp, then it was a campground, and then it had papaws. Now, the government spent millions of dollars to spruce up the botanical gardens for crop over, but they can't find the money to repair the bar room at St. Anne's Fort, nor the drill hall, nor the, well, that's another story, nor the St. Matthias Magistrates Court, a relatively new court. They can't find money to repair. It has been sitting there idle for the longest while. But the rush in Corey Street, so just before Sir Henry Ford, I respect him, passed from this world to put his name on the building that they were ready to repair. But they can't find money to repair St. Anne's Fort. They can't find money to build a concrete platform or concrete apron on the garrison Savannah where the parades are held. But you can go to Waterford's plantation and borrow the plantation for Carrie Fessica. They didn't pay for it yet to borrow it from the Indians. And put it in pristine condition. But they can't repair the Magistrates Court. No, they can't repair Defense Force headquarters. Friends, constituents of St. Michael Central, and St. Michael Central is dear to me. This is the area I grew up in. I grew up just up by Barker Quarry. And when we form the next government, will address these things with a matter of urgency. Barbados is slipping too far. Barbados is going too far. We are no longer the gem of the Caribbean. We cannot hold our heads up high anymore and say that we have a 98% literacy. We cannot laugh at Trinidad and Jamaica with their crime rates. You know, we used to make much sport at them. Because we used to got 7 murders in a year. And then got 27 in a week. We up there with them now. We need to change that. We need to create a decent, safe, quiet environment that most of us in this room grew up in. And we can't do it by talking. We can't do it by studies. We've had enough studies already. We have to take action, and the action has to be taken now. There are only 2 parties in Barbados right now, the Friends of Democracy and the one that ruling Barbados Labour Party. All the rest have gone to Fiddler's Green. We, as the Friends of Democracy, we are the only true opposition in Barbados. And before I close, I will share this with you. You know how I know we the true opposition in Barbados? Tonight, me and Steve, they stand up, and 2 police come to me and ask me who gave me permission to hold a meeting. So we didn't know I had to get permission to hold a meeting in an indoor room. Who tell them that we came to the meeting? Friends of Democracy, members of the Constitution of St. Michael Central, Brother Raymond, I thank you.
Wonderful friend Ricky. As usual, you're becoming more and more erudite as you grow older in the role as a politician, probably a cabinet minister in the waiting. You never can tell, but I speak it into your life, young man. I speak it into your life. Thank you again for your wonderful presentation. As I said earlier this afternoon, when I was introducing myself and introducing the meeting, that I will take the opportunity this afternoon to speak to not only you, the members of the Friends of Democracy, but also the wider Barbados and the wider world, because we are streaming live. And I'm taking this opportunity this afternoon because I purposely stayed away from the platform because I believe that we had enough spokespersons of substance to promote the interests of the Friends of Democracy and also to narrate what we intend to do for the people of Barbados when we are elected to the government of this country. But I'm adding my voice this afternoon really to augment and to strengthen and to complement, and also ready to add some more substance, because there's been extreme substance that we have been enunciating from this platform through the Conward leader in terms of her as president and also the spokespersons of the Friends of Democracy. So I'm just adding and augmenting to what they have been saying over the last number of months since we officially became a political party. Now, the Friends of Democracy really is asking Barbadians to take notice of us. And Barbadians have been taking notice of us because we have been in the news almost every single week since we were formed into a formal political party. And I'm asking them really to evaluate if we are really ready for government. Look at us to see what our platform is like, the substance and the quality of our prospects in terms of our candidates, and to see if we are ready for government. And if Barbadians are honestly having this conversation with themselves, and they're saying that we are not ready for government, then we, the Friends of Democracy, we are saying to them, if not, give us enough seats that we will become the leading opposition party in Barbados. And I'm saying that very clearly because you cannot less count this political party because just a few weeks ago, a party called the WIN, the We Invest in Nationhood Party in Guyana, approached the polls along with the other leading parties in Guyana. And that party, the WIN party, led by a guy called Azruddin Mohammed, who's having some legal problems in the United States at this time. His party actually won 16 seats with some 89,000 votes cast in that general elections. And they actually eclipsed the party that was formerly ran by Lyndon Forbes Burnham. They are now the opposition party in Guyana. Beating out Forbes Burnham party, they only got 67,000 votes. And this party, the WIN party, or the We Invest in Nationhood party, 89,000. And when sometimes people say to us that the Friends of Democracy sound like a social group, look at what this party name. We Invest in Nationhood, the WIN party. Well, I would think that these Friends of Democracy connotes and conveys more substance than this name. This is why we have to ignore people when they're talking nonsense about Friends of Democracy being just a social group or some civic group. We are a solid political party with all of the structures in place, more structures than any of the other parties outside of the two main parties. And as a matter of fact, I dare say that this party, the Friends of Democracy, has more structure and more body in its apparatus as a party than the Democratic Labour Party. So I want us to give the Friends of Democracy a chance. Look at us, look at our quality candidates, look at our policy positions, and they will be enunciated from meeting to meeting. And I want you to pick them apart and see that we are offering Barbados something that the other parties are not offering Barbados. Now, I want to be absolutely clear that the Barbados Labour Party and Prime Minister Mayor Amor Motley is still popular in Barbados. I want you to understand that. We are politicians, but we are not foolish. We understand politics. Prime Minister Motley and the Barbados Labour Party is still popular. They are both still popular. And we are not guessing at this because the Friends of Democracy as a party got some money together a few months ago, and we actually paid for a poll to determine two things. If Barbados is ready for a third political party, and how popular the leaders, the apparent leaders in Barbados are. And when we got the results from that poll, it was done by a credible pollster, which I would not call his name, a credible pollster. The results were clear. Prime Minister Motley is still popular from 51% of the electorate, 51%, followed by Kirk Humphrey at 39, and then Sandy Bradshaw at 37. I am not going to mention the other two people who fell just beneath Sandy Bradshaw because they are not involved in mainstream electoral politics, and therefore I think it would not be right to mention the two names. But they fell into position just under Sandy Bradshaw. So you have Motley at 51, Prime Minister Motley at 51, Kirk Humphrey at 39, Sandy Bradshaw at 37%, and look who is at the bottom. A man called R.A. Thorne with 6% support. I want Barbadians to digest this, to inward digest it, that the leader of the party from George Street is now standing at 6% of the popular vote in Barbados. And I believe when this poll was taken, he was at 6%. But after the showing in St. James North, I believe he's now south of that 6%, landing him clearly somewhere between 1% and 2%. And I want the members of that party in George Street to understand this, that they are fighting a losing battle with the current leadership of the party in George Street. Now, I'm saying all of this to support my case about the popularity of Prime Minister Mayor Motley and the Barbados Labour Party. Now, we are positioning ourselves as a political party because we believe that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And therefore, if you have some person or a government with all 29 seats now, there's 29 to 1, in office, in government, that we need to provide some guardrails for the people of Barbados. And those guardrails must be supplied by the Friends of Democracy. And I want Barbados to take this argument that I am presenting here this afternoon very seriously, because there is no other party or no other parties that can provide these guardrails. Guardrails must be provided because with a party who's having 29 seats, they can do what the hell they like, and they have been doing what the hell they like without any kind of guardrails. You hear the occasional pushback from the main opposition party, but sometimes it falls on deaf ears. And along with the poll that we did, it proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the people in Barbados really desire a third party. 2 out of 5 persons said, look, we would give support to a third party once that third party is populated by the kind of persons with the kind of prospects that we are looking for. And that is why we as a party, the Friends of Democracy, we have to position ourselves to be that third party. When the Barbados Labour Party called elections back in 2022, only 42% of the electorate turned up, you know. The lowest on record in recent times. 42% of the electorate turned up. 29% voted for the Barbados Labour Party, and 11% voted for the George Street Party, and 2% for the other parties. So despite all of the popularity of the Barbados Labour Party and Prime Minister Motley, the Barbados Labour Party is a minority party. And I want you all to ingest that. They are a minority party. 29% of the electorate said this party must govern the Barbados over the next 5 years until 2027, when it's constitutionally due, although some people think it will be called before. Now this evening, we are looking and saying without doubt that Barbados is on the wrong path. Now if you look at all of the macroeconomic numbers coming out of the central bank and all the other rating agencies, you will see that Barbados is doing fairly well economically. We have lots of foreign reserves, borrowed money, of course. Our balance of payments heading in the right direction, and all of the other measurable economic indicators look or point to a successful Barbados. But the real issue in Barbados, as David Thompson pointed out, Barbados is more than an economy, it is also a society. And the social problems in Barbados as we speak tonight in 2025 are heading south. And that is why we as a government, we as a party, that was a fraudulent slip, and I want it to come true. So we as a party, we have to jump in there and to fill that void. Now to explain what I want to say this afternoon, to explain and to interpret what the Friends of Democracy is all about. And we have been doing a decent job in terms of explaining it through our corporate president and our other spokespersons. We have to say in clear terms what our foundational philosophy is, what our pledge direction and our goals are, its fundamental aims and objectives, and its core values. And that is what I want to address in the short time that I have allocated to myself. The Friends of Democracy is really about economic enfranchisement for the majority of Barbadians, and I want to say that clearly. We are about the economic enfranchisement of the Bajans. And I don't want to say black Bajans because I don't want to come across as if this party is a racist party. But the majority of people who live in this country are black. And therefore,
our central focus should be on the majority population, but of course taking into consideration that we have other ethnic groups in Barbados to take care of. We are about stopping black people, or the majority of people in Barbados, from being poor forever. We are also about creating institutions and funds to disturb and to upheave and to disrupt the status quo in Barbados as we know it. We are also about spreading the funding across to those new underfunded people in Barbados, the other classes and the other ethnic groupings. They have access to commercial banks, they have access to pension funds, they have access to shares and dividends, and they also have access to investments. They are covered as far as I'm concerned. I will show you who is not covered in Barbados in my delivery here this afternoon. We will, as a political party, without doubt, open new avenues for the majority Bajans to succeed, because other ethnic groups in Barbados are covered, and I will show you how they are covered. We will create loan funding to access interest-free loans to compete for those majority ethnic group in Barbados in commerce, culture, which they call the orange economy, agriculture, also including hydroponics. We will provide access, interest-free, to the majority people in Barbados for tourism and its ancillary services, manufacturing, light and heavy manufacturing, and also construction, and of course, most spheres of economic activity. That is what the Friends of Democracy intend to do for the people of Barbados. Now, over the last number of years, the other two parties in Barbados have been threatening to do this. And I say threatening because all it has been is a threat. The Democratic Labour Party, or I promise not to call their names, but the party from George Street, they cannot do it because as far as the Barbadian population is concerned, they are politically dead in the water. They are dead in the water. They have absolutely no viability or credibility. And as the mighty Lyre said in his Calypso, they are deep down in Kelman's Gully. Deep, deep in Kelman's Gully. Their leadership, the collective leadership of the Democratic Labour Party, as it probably consists and composed, is as shallow as Brandon Beach at low tide. They are. Look at it. They are taking that party nowhere. But we are happy that they're taking that party nowhere. Collectively, shallow, shallow. The Barbados Labour Party, on the other hand, they are busy gouging themselves at the economic troughs. Go busy. They are now becoming political gluttons, the Barbados Labour Party, visiting the buffet largesse table regularly and only catering to their friends, their family, and also to their relatives. But I want to say to you tonight, and to reinforce the binding philosophy of the Friends of Democracy political party founded in July of this year, after morphing into the political party from what we were, a civic group. So the reinforced binding philosophy of the Friends of Democracy is to transform renters to landlords, employees to employers, borrowers to lenders, waiters to the waited on, house helpers and housekeepers to house owners, the landless to the land rich, and the poverty stricken to the poverty enabled. That is what our bounding philosophy is as the Friends of Democracy, to bring about this transfer and this transformation. So it must be the Friends of Democracy to the aid of the people of Barbados. It must be. Fund access, we have the fund access, offering onerous interest rates and a lot of red tape that is tied up, of course, for the average lender. The trust loan funds offering only $6,000. I understand it was just raised to $10,000. Well, that can't even buy the goods for a woman who's selling comforts and toffees. We intend to do something about that, and I will speak to that very shortly. So all the noble ideas of setting people to work has failed or succeed under pressure. We, in the Friends of Democracy, point clearly that those funding institutions that currently exist in Barbados are not working for the average Barbadian, are not working. East Indians in Barbados, they have created a pool of money. And we love the East Indians because I can tell you something, people of my age group, and even to this day, East Indians have played a pivotal role from an economic point of view for the average Barbadian. We used to call them coolie men, which is a pejorative term, they tell me, because when we were growing up, and we call a man a coolie man, it was not a pejorative term, but it is now one. You have to be politically correct, so I would be politically correct and call them traveling itinerant salespersons. But so they have been good to us. These people have been good to us to help put clothes on our backs, help put they even put in windows and blocks and all kind of things now at our disposal. So they have been good to us. But they create a pool for themselves, you know, interest-free, what they call no usury. It's called usury. So no interest. So they can get access to loans free of interest. White Bajans, we have no problem with them either. They have been with us from the Red Legs. You go up into Zors in St. John or in Newcastle, and you'll still find some of them up there. So they're all part of us as Barbadians. But they are taken care of too as a cultural group. They have been born with nature's passport. They have also been exposed to generational wealth, something that we, as the majority in Barbados, have not been. Blacks, on the other hand, I'm not talking race, I want to re-emphasize this. We are not talking race, we're talking facts. Blacks have been socialized in this country to doubt themselves, encouraged to strive academically to become well-educated employees. That is what we've been socialized. Go to school, go to university, get your doctorate, get your first degree, your second degree, and get you all of this. And at the end of the day, what we have turned out to be is well-educated and really well-educated employees. While the other ethnic groups are soaring. We, in the Friends of Democracy, want to change that. Madam President, under a Karina Goodridge administration, we have to change that. And if you doubt me, because I don't talk idly, I'm going to supply you with the imperative evidence that this is so in Barbados. You check the history of the black businesses in Barbados over the last 10, 20, 30 years. There'll be a lack of generational business, inheritance, and succession. A lack of ready financial support to continue the legacy of the business. And if you doubt me, you can go down into Fontebelle. But before I get that, several black businesses once thriving, now defunct. No succession planning. They have not planned for any succession. It seemed to me, and seemed to most people, that the business is the black man's curse. The absence of sufficient funding also is something that afflicts the average black man. And the doubting of one another when it comes to business arrangements. I know of several black people who got together and formed a partnership and a coalition. And for some reason, one start jerking the hand in the cash register too regular and start distrusting one another. I'm not saying it does not happen with the other ethnic groupings, But predominantly it seemed to happen with black people, and their businesses fail and fail repeatedly. I drive down Fontebelle, and when I look at the advocate, Sir Anthony Bryan must be rolling in his grave. I come up a few yards and I look at Brankers and Company. It has gotten so bad that is even burnt out now. It is no longer a business. And one of the most shocking things I saw is Royal Banker's son, who should have stayed in the business and to strengthen it generationally. He is now a manager at Koyman. Imagine that. He's now a manager at Koyman. And his father's business is gone to the ground, ruined, burnt out. Look at the other black businesses in Barbados who have suffered. I did the research because I want to drive home the fundamental point tonight to Barbadians and the world. 15 black businesses in Barbados over the last few years have suffered for this lack of generational pass on, what I call the generational pass on. Leo Leacock in Wildy closed down, no longer a business. The Barbados Lumber Company on the Amory Phillips and Charlie Griffith. Where's that business now? With one fledgling one in Spite Song, I understand. The main one over by the stadium, that's gone. The Chinese now have taken over that. They're now building their own houses there, of course, for the building of the stadium. Shamrock under Mr. Aline, gone through the editors. There were almost a Shamrock in every parish. Maxwell Shop. There was a Maxwell Shop in every parish. There was one in Bank Hall, in Foster Road, and all over the place. All right, Maxwell. Don't talk about James A. Tudor, another businessman that had a shop in every nook and cranny in Barbados, gone through the editors. Those of you of my vintage would remember the 5 and 10 store under Archibald Rollock. That was a thriving business. But where is it now today? The Bajbai, the Worrell Brothers, gone through the others. And the one that hurts me most is Julian. I witnessed with my own 2 eyes Neville Rowe in the latter days of his life, sitting in Julian, well, upstairs, what is now called Sky Mall. You imagine that whole Sky Mall was a supermarket? You remember? So massive was this man's ideas that that whole complex was a supermarket. But he went to his grave not owning the place. Imagine that. Ajax Construction with Robinson, gone through the others. Rayside limping along. Husband's Raw Tyrant with Mohammed Nasser, no longer. Curtains Furniture with Mr. Curtin, no longer. Hampton Furniture, no longer. All 15 black businesses, and there could be more if you really did the research. Why is that? Why is that? Now, on the other hand, and again, I emphasizing and re-emphasizing, we are not talking race, or we are not racist in this party, but we are just about reality and facts. Carter and Company, a white-owned business, but passed from 150 years, passed from generation to generation. They understand the issue of generational pass on. C.O. Williams Group of Companies, pass on again. Cave Shepherd and Company, they so much so want to maintain the hold on Cave Shepherd that if Cave Shepherd is not relevant into 2025, let's call it duty-free Barbados. But the ownership is still the same. Still the same. Abed, same thing. They are not white, but they're Syrian. But they move from generation to generation. Eddie Abed now has his son working in the business to pass on the business to him. Oran, same thing. Sheraton Center and Welch's Plaza, they're expanding. And of course, the biggie is BS&T, now Massey. Now Massey. I want to tip my hat down and congratulate Everson Elcock and Adrian Elcock for understanding, and his brothers, for understanding the worth of generational enrichment and to pass the baton down the line. And also, I want to compliment the owners of Federal Motor Spears. I noticed that his son, Mr. Aline, I noticed that his son is now also inside the business, and his daughter fortifying the business and ensuring that it has passed from generation to generation. So as a new party, Friends of Democracy, a Karina Goodridge administration must change that ethos, that culture, that core value, that spirit of entrepreneurship, that business mood and mold all over Barbados, and start to focus our policies to reposition the majority race in Barbados. And I say that without apology. We are not going to disadvantage the other ethnic groups because they are our brothers and our sisters in some ways, and therefore we want to make sure that their businesses continue to thrive and continue to flourish. But the majority race in Barbados must get a hand up from this party. And if you don't get them a hands up, you'll get my resignation. Because I'm serious about it. It is about time that some government, some party in Barbados start to move the needle in the direction of the majority people in Barbados. We must create access to low interest loans and no interest funding. We must provide the enabling atmosphere of generational wealth accumulation, the infusion of ethnic trust, reliance on honesty and honest expectations, the same thing I spoke about among black people seem not to trust one another. A duty-free regime to enable our entrepreneurs access to goods and services that would advantage their pursuit of the business opportunities that are presented to them. So, to give birth to that enabling environment and to make Barbados a place for Bajans, we, the Friends of Democracy, want to implement some policies, and I'm just going to touch on two of the policies because Comrade Ricky dealt with some before. But we want to deal with this question of startup seed funding for small business people. Comrade, come forward. Come forward. Sit here. Sandra got to create some of them chairs there with those bags and all that. Yes. Yes, sir. One of the policies that we are looking at in terms of seed funding is that the Friends of Democracy will implement a startup or seed funding to the tune of $15,000. And Dwele is saying that $15,000 is too small. And I am beginning to agree with him because I feel it should be in the vicinity of around $20,000 or $25,000 as a start. No, $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000 can't be seed funding. That is scratch grain funding. So we are going to provide the environment to the tune of $15,000 in the first place to applicants, in which there will be built-in compulsory enrollment in the National Insurance Self-Employment Contribution Fund. And I'll tell you why. Whose accumulated funds acts as a guarantee for the loan, with the government having the first lien on the matured benefits over time. So as the fund accumulates over time, and it will take about 5 to 6 to 7 years to prepay this loan. Therefore, the fund that they're contributing to in the the self-employment fund, will be accumulating. The national insurance monthly or weekly payments from the loan recipients will form part of the monthly repayment of the government to the government for the loan. So the rationale is clear. It is to afford adequate and appropriate seed funding while simultaneously instituting a built-in mechanism to guarantee the loan while providing self-employment insurance coverage for the loan recipients. And that is what we intend to do towards the new seed funding for our small business people. We spoke about the coconut vending villages, which we will put in place. This government and the last government, I remember under the last government, former Prime Minister Frondel Stewart asked one of his ministers, Stephen Lashley, to do a comprehensive study of this coconut vending villages. We left government and nothing was ever done. And this government is now also threatening, I say threatening, to create coconut villages, coconut water vendors villages. But we, as the Friends of Democracy, we will create those villages, well-paved vending areas, waterborne toilet facilities, skips for the disposal of the coconut shells, and permanent tenting in the areas for the coconut vendors and also vegetable vendors. I'm going to finish now. I was going to talk about the public service vehicles. I want to talk about them because I have a sweet spot for public service vehicle operators. A lot of people in Barbados think they are pariahs. I don't think they are. I think they are the backbone of the public service, public sector vehicles in Barbados. And they are among the few people in Barbados that are paid according to their productivity. A lot of us go to work and we don't pay for the productivity. Whether we go to work or don't go to work, whether we work or don't work, we get our money at the end of the month. These guys, these operators, the conductors and the drivers, if they don't produce, they don't get a cent. They have to look for $350 every single day to carry and put in the hands of the owners, and then put diesel in the vehicles. And what is left back is theirs. That can't be right. They are the backbone of the public transportation in Barbados. And I believe with a policy like this, we are saying that the Friends of Democracy proposes to add an award feature to the basic payment of all PSV workers to enhance their wages, to acknowledge that they are the backbone, like I just said, of the public transportation sector in Barbados. And the rationale for this policy is to reduce the over-enthusiastic spirit of competition, which encourages reckless and unlawful behavior. Just fancy words. Just fancy words. To bring all of the workers onto the government payroll with a negotiated and fixed weekly stipend to be added alongside the wages from their respective employers. The Friends of Democracy is of the view that the method of payment is at the heart of the indiscipline now existing in the sector. It will also engender a feeling of care for the workers, thus creating a culture of second-tier entrepreneurship among the sector's drivers and their conductors. We're saying bring them onto the payroll, offer them a stipend, a negotiated stipend, so that they wouldn't have to be chasing and breaking the laws and creating all kinds of infractions with the police and ending up in the law courts. Finally, this is a policy that we, the Friends of Democracy, will pursue because we believe that it is fundamentally right to do it. We accept that the fact that the pensions paid to the average person who have worked in Barbados are salaries deferred to all of us who worked. The Friends of Democracy is of the opinion that after contributing to the tax system of the country for 33 and a third years as in the public service, and more sometimes in the private sector, that we have made a significant contribution to the consolidated fund, we have made a significant contribution to the upkeep of the country, and we've made a significant contribution to the maintenance and the governance of the country. So, as a golden handshake to those categories of workers, the Friends of Democracy proposes to exempt 67% of all pensions received by the former employees from any taxes or government impositions. Therefore, only 33% of the paid pensions will be taxable or attract any government impositions. That is our plan, and that is our pledge to the people of Barbados. You shouldn't be paying income tax on taxes, on your pensions. You should not be. And the figure, 33% and 67%, is significant because we're saying that if you work for 33 years, then you should only be paying on that 33 years. And you have 67% of your pension going tax-free, and that is a pledge to the people of Barbados from the Friends of Democracy. So, I want to say this, finally. At this party, this Friends of Democracy political party founded in July, under the leadership, the astute young leadership of Karina Goodridge, and led by its two managerial committees of management, and populated by the members of the Friends of Democracy, we are the true successor party to the legacy holders in Barbados. The legacy holders that I'm talking about is Errol Walton Barrow, James Cameron Choder, Frederick Sleepy Smith, and James Patsy Springer, David John Howard Thompson, and Lloyd Erskine Sandyford. This party, not the one in George Street. We are the true legacy holders for those people. We are. So, I want to say to you, without doubt, that if the people of Barbados don't feel that we are ready for government, I want them to make us the leading opposition party in Barbados. Follow my argument. If you don't want us to be government, make us the leading opposition party in Barbados. So turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of this world will grow strangely dim in the light of the glory and grace. And I don't want to be blasphemous, but I want to add this little bit, and I'm not going to plagiarize what is in the Bible, but turn your eyes upon the Friends of Democracy. Look full in our wonderful face, and the politics of the B's and the D's will grow strangely dim in the light of our pace and haste to make Barbados a better place. I thank you. And really, no big lot of introduction. Everybody knows you. A man that I have grown to love. I said before, and I'm going to plagiarize the words of Sir Wes Hall when he spoke to his friend, Sir Gary Service. I understand Sir Gary is not feeling well, and we hope that he soon recovers. That I love, and really, just as much as a man could love a man and still remain a man. So Daniel, you don't have to get frightened. You don't have to get frightened, because what I do love, I just love just as much. And come on, come on, talk to the people, man.
Thank you very much. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. And that's reciprocal to Steve. I don't like notes, because notes has run me in a lot of trouble. But before I get out, I never had planned to say this, but you bring up something there just now. You brought a lot of points. And you highlighted all the black people, the black businesses that fall down. And there might be more. But that was great research. But one thing that I would add on to that, while all these people fell down and went down, I want to listen very carefully, because he's very pragmatic. Where all these people fell down, all the governments that was running them was black people. There was not one white man in these governments. It was, all of them was led by black people. And we ended up still with our brothers and sisters falling to the ground. And it's still happening as we speak. That's why it's so necessary for Friends of Democracy to ascend to be the government. I don't want to be in opposition. I am praying to God, the God that I serve, the God that took me out of a well and brought me back to life, the God that took David out the fields and slew Goliath, that took them 3 Hebrew boys out the well and met Pharaoh. Serve that God. This is the God that I serve, that will take us and make us the government of Barbados. The people of Barbados are suffering. They cannot suffer anymore. Black people, we have a little meeting this week. I don't know if I can say it, but I can say anyhow. And one of the people in the meeting, when friend Ricky talked about capital punishment, and he was right. We need capital punishment. Whether you like it or not, we need capital punishment. And she was very adamant, and poor black people getting locked up and getting hanged. You want to hang poor, but she forgot that the poor black people was killing people. And the people that they killed had families too. So we got to be, that was a real pragmatic. We got to be realistic about life. And Friends of Democracy, it probably never happened before, and this time it will happen. Steve brought the example of what happened in Guyana, and things got a way of going around and coming around. And he mentioned, I can't even remember the name of the party you bring up. And anyway, that's a real good name too. But it shows you that this is a change. Everything changes. What up here is get down here. Barbados started with BLP, DLP, NEP, CLP, EKP. When you come with that parties, no, the young people don't want to hear it. Call it, they say there's another bunch of gangsters. You see, FOD, it got them worried. Cause you know what tell them? Them ain't like we. Them ain't like we. Them coming to rock the boat. And like Master told me that when he got into the House of Assembly, he walked up the stairs to the House of Assembly like this. He was met at the top of the stairs by, I won't call him man, but Sir, anyhow, at the top of the stairs, and the man did like this. Welcome to this exclusive club. I was a DLP, he was a BLP. You see how these people thinking? We got to change that. This is an exclusive club. We servants. Be servants of the people. Be applying for a job to serve the people. And if you come in FOB intent to serve, get out. This is a sport. You become. I see the Prime Minister walking over the entourage and think, you forget you're the servant. You work for me. I hire you and I can fire you. There's nothing special about you or politician. We say servants that want to make a contribution to help our brothers and sisters. You walking about with 16 boards and come, we got to change it. FOD can change it. We will change it. We got to get real. This because people suffering. The most people in the history of Barbados, the outside supermarkets and outside gas stations and outside every place saying, give me something outside this church. I was swinging this morning, 2 men outside the world, you got something for me? This is the Barbados I was in for years. I never see it like this yet. So don't tell me that people ain't suffering. So when you put down couple of millions that you can't even talk about it up at Carry Fest, and a couple of millions up in the place up there next to Carry Fest, and friend Blackett talk about the plantation, but he didn't tell that about the plantation. They buy the place, 4 acres of land is the less that they bought to buy it now. So I hear, a little back bird tell me that it was bought. You know that land is Zone 1 land. It's on the water table. Anyhow, let me get to some serious business, political business, because I know the president can outline some more policies and Rick policies by the politician. Mine is very clear. I in sports and entertainment. And I said my piece very, very early. It is written and you can keep repeating it all the time. We got to go right back to primary school and start sports from primary school. We can't fix it nowhere else. Then a quick fix with it. Let me go back down here and start it. And I know about in 4, 8, 12, 16, those kids from 4 when they get 16 to 20, they're going to be looking at professionalism. There's a lot of billions of dollars in sports. You can imagine that type of finance coming into the country that we're keeping out. Rihanna is $2 billion. We need a lot more Rihannas. Rihanna wasn't nothing extra special. We didn't even know about her before she started. We got the amount of talent in Barbados that we could produce entertainers, athletes, all types of people we could produce in this country. And we got to start keeping them on the ground and telling them they got to be academics. Because all academics done, as you all said before, is mega servants. They got very few academics that work for anybody. They don't employ nobody. And that's, you know why? Because we took that system from England, and England was the people that pushed slavery. And they knew what they were doing. This is why we got now a country that the people so docile that we just elect a president who was just a couple months ago, I call it months ago, was a minister of government in the same government. You can imagine the repercussions of this. You could imagine, but some people say it's family. You know, I'm going down there because it could be true, but the soon, you know, I had the money. And they could bring the old DNA and put me in trouble. We say, no, this family anyhow. How you could take a minister Frank Ricky, you're a lawyer. How you can take, are you ex-police, a gazetted police too? You call it nepotism? I call it wickedness. How you could take a former minister and elevate him to be president? The only body can fire the prime minister, the president. How your family can fire you? The prime minister hired the president. Now the Senate make about the 21 seats, right? 21, eh? How much the government got? 9. The government got 12? How much the president got? No. He got 7, that's 19. And the opposition got 2. You know the government now got 19 seats. And Barbarians got to understand this, you know. And we got to roll back that too, you know, because we can roll back it too, you know. I have nothing against Colonel Bostic. From all the reports I know of him, he's a decent guy. He just get put in the position he had the right thing. And they can say, vex or not, he had no right in that position. And you know who Robert Stanley? You know who Robert Stanley? A rat. Sing it for your supper. Because all of a sudden now, the subvention come back up. These people selling out Barbadians. It's plain to see. You don't go in an academic, you don't go got a PhD to see this plain. You jump over to the DLP. You was attacking everything. You can get PSC, you can do this here, you can do this, you can do all this here. To bring up the president, job for the president, and you say, I agree. I sign off. What about the lead subvention out there for me? This is what's happening in Barbados because they're trying to nail this party to the core. I have never seen a new party come up in Barbados that costs so much. Everybody now talking about it. Restaurants say that it is feasible with the VAT. They really will deal with that. The people meeting me every day say, boy, it's feasible because they pay 35% VAT. A man tell me yesterday at the funeral, you know something? I hear you all say, I don't realize it. You don't know that the merchant never paying the VAT. I see you talking about, it's a man that's got a lot of places, and a lot of places don't even give me a receipt. And that's the $2 billion at the write-off. And when everybody becomes the government, I'll be campaigning for that money back. Because that money is our money. Nobody gives us anything. So I want the people's money back. Recently, there was a lot of talk going around in the sporting circle. I don't know how many of you guys in here up on sports because Barbados is an academic town. When the children to do the 11 plus, beat them, you know, when they actually literally beat them to go to one of the 5 schools, you know. What's called, right? The 3-star schools, beat them. And when the pastor got in the paper and slapped it, and the little fella that ain't yet there, move here. I'm going to this side. Yeah. Recently, there was a lot of talk, not in Barbados, we just follow suit, throughout the world about athletes and the contribution that athletes make to the GDP of countries. They're second to none. Go and do your research. Second to none. Even here in the Caribbean, you can pick out some individuals, cricketers at the lowest end of the economic scale where sports is, that are multi-millionaires that living right here in the Caribbean. And right here in Barbados, I'll be downplaying it. We went a National Sports Council with a joker. A man that's making a living making sport. This who run in sports, making sport at sports. So when the situation came up that we had that video and it get corrected, but it is true. They got national athletes that cannot get funding to train. We made a big issue with Saleh when she went because it was world news and the Prime Minister ran it. You know who just ran it? In case hold some money, not another Saints. That girl went under so much pressure that she just went in the games and went, come 7 for AF, body don't wait on you in athletics. And the intensity of training, you got to be at that level. And the only way that we can succeed, and what we are not realizing is that athletes produce a lot of jobs. You only see the footballer or the cricketer, but we ain't seen the nutritionist, we ain't seen the lawyer, we ain't seen the physiotherapist, we ain't seen the masseuse, we ain't seen the accountant. All of these people play a part and more with athletes. There is a whole new world of business people, athletes and entertainers that Barbados is sitting down and suppressing because we do not understand the public of Barbados. They can preach it morning, noon, and night that politicians are merely servants. That's all we are. We are servants. Or just beg for a job on brass tacks. He said, good Lord, I just want to help be a consultant. This man that is an Olympic bronze medalist, you know, in this country and can't get a job to help athletics. But what do you expect when the Prime Minister went next door and spent millions of dollars on Zone 1 and the stadium they're laying down? The stadium was laying down more than 8 years because it was laying down when the DLP was in power too. But you could put the argument for the DLP, didn't have no money because Stephen Lash used to give me 10 cents per man. Let me see what we could do. That's how to look at it. But this is 10 years, over 10, 15 years that we don't have a national stadium. So how we can go a champion? But the prison is growing, the prison population every day. And that is a sign of it. That is a sign of it. You don't want to rocket science and go and look at the men in prison. 14, 15 to 20. Them is athletes. Them is men that we should have got some of them bowling fast, batting, kicking the ball, playing tennis. Them is the men that we should be working with. Being working with these guys. Not all of them that are dropping out of schools. Some of them are even academics. Because they got student athletes. We ain't doing nothing about it. That's why we stress that we can start this from four at primary school. We're going to be looking at you at primary school and we can see attributes. I went a week ago, I get invited to see one of my grandchildren playing at North Stars down St. Lucie down by you. And they had 4 playing fields down there. And I watched, I know, I didn't be no athlete. I played 8. You know, I see tell him when he see me, when he say, grandfather, how you feel? You got the ball, you know, got the ball, and he running up now like a fast bowler. And I watch it, and he come over the hand, and I look right, and I said, Lord, have mercy. We ain't even got nothing in place to take him out and put him in a school and raise him up. Not necessarily only he, but raise them up to the level that when he get 15, 16, 17, he ready. He ready. You know what happened? If he don't get in, we God get in. He can draw through the crack too and pray God that he don't end up in dots. Because when you break the heart, they don't got the feeling. This is reality they're talking about, you know. I live between them. I know what I'm telling you. Every day, somebody tell me, you know, so-and-so in trouble. Because so-and-so just, his heart, his spirit broken. You feel that they ain't got a chance in society. Everybody telling, man, we don't go and learn something. Why learn? I got something. I got something, man. Mike Tyson has something. Mike Tyson was a wayward boy in his year, even up to 9, 10 years, he was in and out of juvenile prison in America. And a man here cussed him out, take you up and say, come here, man. You can fight. Come here, let me show you how to fight. Mike Tyson made $400 million because of the system of the United States of America. In Barbados, and he was like that, he would have got 400 years in jail. Are you serious? I have seen it every day. Probably dead by now. We got to save our children. We politicians got to save our children. We are servants. FOD will break that spirit. People got Parliament yard and sticking this picture pan, you know. I come for that. We come to work. We come here to work. We come to elevate the plight of the small man. Because the small man needs all the help that he can get. All the help. You think it is by chance that the small man all we do is all them dark businesses? You think so? You tell me that the white man brighter than me and the president. I got real right friends. Yeah, but I went to school with somebody that real dancey. And some of them end up being managing directors of places. So God has to raise up some people to break that cycle. And FOD will break that cycle. I hear Karina say, I hear the next Prime Minister say that she raised up and politics was in her belly. when her mother was going about the political meetings, when they really had a DLP, she was there. So, you know, a child in a belly, the Bible says we start to live, you understand a lot of things happening, you know. Don't take that because the baby out there. That's why she's a politician, you know. She's a politician because she's born to be a politician. She can do many other things. Beautiful young black woman. She can be dressed, you can run your job, she can do a lot of things. A lot of things. But she chose to come and serve. And got a husband that wants to serve too. And that's commendable. And we got some young men in this country, even around us, that got one foot in and one foot out. They are afraid. They know that what we're doing is right. But they're frightened. You know what we're talking about, man. Morgan, you know what we're talking about? They're frightened. Good young men. We got to find a way to try and harness these fellas in to make this country a better place. Because look, I don't know how it is termed red. They got alerts. One is red, one is orange, whatever it is. But let me put it my way. Red is the worst. Orange is the one just next to red. Blue and yellow. Let me see. You know what Barry says? Pass red. That's where we at now. You know why I say we pass red? Because we losing our young children. We losing them. Not all the children in bad. I hate people telling me young people, young. That ain't true. That ain't true. Get between them and see, man. Some of them got hearts of gold, but a lot of them reaching out. And the people that are in charge and got nothing to offer them. The Prime Minister was trying to hoard some to keep them to vote for her, and she called them, what? They got a name for them. Peter Ramadan, they got a name for them. They got a new name for them, though. But everything's a new name. Influencers. I know who the influencers is. But it's influencers. So in order to it's, you know, for me that I'm a musician that the hurtful part of it. You mean you gotta give me a handout to be your friend? You can't create the environment for me that I can play my instrument and make a living? You got to reduce me to that. And I see some of our best artists. Watch crop over. Watch the collective competition. They can't sing no more. They're blunt. They're like a horse. They're like a dog that neutered. I'm telling you. They can't. Real rubbish to come and sing now. Nation builder, they can't come and sing the truth. You know what? Any California used to watch Barbados TV. It don't work no more. Nobody don't sing Jack, don't be able to beach no more. That done. They sing, come back, push back, come back, la 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 la, but nobody is singing the truth. I might sound like I've been making a laugh, you know, but this is a fact. The father was a California. My father, everybody's hurt when you hear these California lyrics now. You can't even listen to them. No substance at all. And them is nation, them is people that was watching over things for me, man. Kick Tom, books, we had these people on the go. And we know you call it influencers now. They even give some of them a little title. Which me responsible for culture, I will get to that very, very soon. Most honorable. Yeah. You see, again, we got to change all this, you know, man. Look, this place is ripe for change. This is why thank God for FOD. It right and winning Ghana. There's a wind of change that coming through the Caribbean now. This place ripe for change. You can't have national awards. I'm giving a man the highest award, a Barbadian, and ain't got in the past. When I say ain't got in the past, you can't show me nothing that he ever did. How he get my highest award? So I'm looking at all the foreign print to see now, we do. I want to hear what it is. I want to hear what he did. I can't see it. How the hell are they going to explain that to my children? What are they talking about? I mean, this type of attitude got to change. You know, it comes off to me like, I am in charge, and I could do what I feel like. And I want you to know that we in charge, not you. We, the people go and learn. That's why many people realize that, Steve, you ain't got 42% people voting no more. You ain't got 110% people voting. Because the people can realize you see you and like to move. You come. When the people realize, that's what the young people in voting, that's what the people in voting call the figure that the politician has put it in a way that the politicians are in charge. When they're in charge and then when they apply for a job. When they apply for the job, when they don't even represent people anymore. When it's MPs now. It's sad because we didn't put you there to do that. So Steve said that FOD commissioner. But that thing is now, a poll. And the poll was very favorable because it was there when they read it out. I also read out, I also heard the last number that came up too. We didn't say we had nothing to do with it, but it came out. I'm of the opinion too that earlier up in that, two numbers come out to a mess with FOD, but you can say it at another time. But however, FOD did the poll, and that's why we're here today at the favorable. But I tell you all nothing, I do my poll. Am I more than favorable? I'm the next representative for St. Michael Northwest. Hands down. Hands down. Look, I got donkey race. I got donkey race. Because the people that I represent is real people. The people is real people. These are not mock sport people. These people feel the grind. These people, you see how Barbados is only 21 by 14 days say. But you don't know what Barbados got a class in it that feed the real special and the rest of people in the body. That's why you said that the middle class getting eroded. Because the middle class was looking too well. And that can't work. That can't work. The middle class was looking too well, and that cannot work. So they decided to get rid of the middle class, small black people. And it's easy. It's easy to look on face value and say, black people can't run businesses. Look at all the businesses that had in the field. You know how you fail in business? You know how you succeed and how you fail? The injection of capital. That is all no rocket science. There ain't no rocket science. When you down, a fella come and say, hey, come here, man. I see you got a little problem here. I know you can get back up just now. Here's X amount of dollars. Go on and get your thing together. That don't happen for us in this pigmentation. That don't happen for me. The setup for him. The broke that man's heart. Because I don't know if you all know, that man built the biggest supermarket in the world, There was no supermarket in the world as big as Julian. It done him. There was that point, Steve, at that point where, because of Neville's success, that black businesses in Barbados started to strive. We had Budge Boy, we had the other one up there in Oystein, we had Basic, we had Sean Rock, Miller, and all them. We had the supermarket chain going. Supercenter was getting smaller and smaller, and they had to cut off the head. They cut off the head, and when they cut off never head, they work from Budge Boy and all them, and they're no more. They're no more. What shoppers? They just wake up, understand, and we had black governments that allowed it to happen. The black, because when you're in charge, you're in charge. You can't be in charge and a minority group telling you what to do. That's why FOD has to resonate with the public, because nobody ain't putting no money in our hand to satisfy them when they get them. We get in and tell them we got to do what they want for them to run the government from behind. We own people. And we can get in through the grace of God, not the man. So if I got some money to give you some money knowing full well that we can make when the money right. But if I got some money to give you for when to get rich, it ain't going to work. And I can come knocking at someone on the door and telling you the same thing too. I'm your friend. I ain't no prejudice or nothing so. But this is the policies that we got. And any reasonably thinking person living in Barbados now and seeing the crime rate would back FOD. They ain't got no choice but to back FOD, because how we can't continue to when the rain falls, it's fall up in everybody's house. So nobody is safe. No, the lady that lived just opposite me, she came home in a car, get out the car, and a fella drive right in the driveway with her. Mom, I could get a glass of water. She know, Beatrice is real nice. Hold on a minute, let me get my bag and gun. And from the time she step up the bag, you call she net. 10:30 in the morning. 10:30 in the morning. They in a place that's safe. She home. So when people say I come tonight, Marco, it's safe. Because they come up in the street, because they're coming out your house for you. That's what's happening. So the Caucasian, the Indian, everybody got joined with FOD to clean up this mess. Because all these Bajans, you know, they got Indians that born here. The whites born here too, and we born here. So let me get together and clean this mess up. I can close by saying this. And I'm saying this to FOD. People used to get involved in politics, and it was wrong for a while. The rest of the guys will carry on with no here. We had this habit that we used to go and look for people, and say, man, that's a good little man there, or a good little woman there. Bring she and make she, put she in politics. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You don't want that. The people are going to know who is the person that they want to represent them. Because when you bring a fella that you don't know, and he start with the ways, you can't tell him nothing. We want servants. We want people to come and represent people 24/7. If you can't apply for this job, that's what the job tells you. That's what it says. The job title is representative, not MP. And this is what it says. Available to the people that you represent. Available to them at all times. If you can't do that, go and join one of the other parties. Good night and God bless you.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Andrea boy. Thank you so much. Well, let's go down the road. I want to acknowledge, I would think he's the senior member of the Friends of Democracy. Morgan, welcome, man. Our next speaker is a holder of a bachelor's of business administration and marketing. He was born and raised right here in St. Michael Central. He's a businessman, and right here also in St. Michael Central, a community practitioner here in St. Michael Central, a philanthropist and a giver in St. Michael Central. Since 2020, he's been helping people with food hampers, school supplies, and other needed items here in St. Michael Central. He organizes his events, Deck the Halls, annually at the Chats Plaza, right here in St. Michael Central. He sponsored events, community fun days at the Queen Victoria Road in St. Michael Central. He sponsored a health fair at the Nazarene Church here in St. Michael Central. He cares deeply about the Barbados and the constituents of St. Michael Central. And by God's good grace, he will be the next representative of St. Michael Central. He's not a pretender. He's not a Red Riding Hood. And he does not float around from party to party. He is steadfast and he shows some stick-to-itiveness that I admire. I want to introduce you to Raymond Wiggins, our candidate for St. Michael Central.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Good night, all. I'm glad to be back here in St. Michael Central again, in my hometown. As Ndwele just left off, I was saying we need people who care about the people to serve. And that is how I actually came to want to be a candidate in St. Michael Central. From the people of my neighborhood, from my St. Michael Central, telling me for the last 5 years, you need to go and get into politics. You need to go and run for St. Michael Central. We need somebody like you to represent us, somebody that cares about us. And at first, I didn't take it seriously, but as time went on, I said, you know what? The time has come, and here I am. We haven't been on the road for some time because we stopped having some of these meetings as crop over popped in and certain things. But we have been on the road. We've been in the media. We've been on social media. We've been on VOB. We've been having articles in The Nation and Barbados Today and so forth. But we've also been on the road, going around, checking out what's been going on within communities. And just about last week, as we went through a neighborhood assessing certain things. We came through Greenfield. And we saw the squalor in Greenfield. That it actually prompted a whole conversation on our chat about Greenfield and people shaking their head. You try to avoid a pothole on the left and you drop in a crater on the right. Garbage, and Greenfield is a densely populated area. Anybody who knows it, you can ask your neighbor for a little sugar and put your hand through the window and they can hand it to you. And there was so much garbage piled up on the streets in Greenfield. People living in deplorable and horrible situations. And it didn't just start. Quite some time ago, many years ago, when I was public relations officer for a New York-based group called Helping Hands of Barbados, I came to Barbados and I went around with the great Auntie Olga Lope Seals. I also went around with the Salvation Army. We went to a lot of the primary schools and also some of the where the children go, the children's homes, yeah, thank you. And on one of my trips with Auntie Olga, the place that she took me was in Greenfield. And when they talk about poor people in Barbados, I always thought it was people who grew up like us, that you had Sunday school shoes and school shoes, but during the week you had no shoes to put on, you had to wear them around barefoot. And you know, sometimes we get chicken, but on a Sunday, you get chicken wings, they cut it in half, and you get piece, and them get piece. Sometimes the grandmother got to town buy a mango, you got to decide if you want the seed or the outside piece. So I figured that is the kind of people they're talking about when I went around with Auntie Olga. And she went in Greenfield. And when the person opened the door to the house that we went in, we stepped on earth. This house and there were about 4 children living in that house. And I mean, these conditions have not changed in places like Greenfield, Wellington Street, as you mentioned before, and places like this, and we cannot do that. We have to deal with our people. We have to worry about our people. But when we have Bajans living in this kind of squalor, and we're talking about, now I'm not saying I'm against this free movement act or whatever it is, but the way it is done and the timing doesn't seem right. We have Bajans living in squalor, and we have an education system, a healthcare system that is not up to par, that is already overwhelmed. And we tell people, come and live and work and stay as you like. Now I living in my house now, none of one with my 6 children, my wife, my stepmother, my godmother, my mother-in-law, whoever. And we ain't got no place to sleep. The house is junky, we can't even keep up. The lights off one month, the water off the next month. And as much as like my Aunt Mary and my Uncle Tom, John, I ain't gonna tell you, come and stay, baby. We part gonna stay. You have to clean up your house first before you start inviting people to come and say, come and stay as long as you like. So we're bringing people to overwhelm an already overwhelmed system, which really makes no sense. Clean up your house first before you start inviting people. And they passed this legislation, if they pass it, and now they're going back to say, we will deal with the finer points. Because you know they like to throw out dates. It's October 1st. So come hell or high water, October 1st it is. They came in November 30th and said we're going to be a republic on November 30th. I mean, on the same day as independence. I don't know why that date was important for them. And came hell or high water, well, pretty much. Came hell or high water, they became a republic. They still have constitutional amendments on parliament. They still have things to iron out, no constitution and certain things. We have an outgoing administration, and to me that is a little troubling enough. It's troubling to anybody else. We appointed a president. We have pretty much possibly an outgoing, because the election is coming up soon. Why is a lame duck administration, so to speak, appointing a new president when you're outgoing? Wait until elections and whoever becomes the new ruling party, the new government, appoint a president. And so far, I don't even think they have any real idea or set down anything in stone as to what the difference is between a president and a governor general. They just say, well, damn, Sandra, you were governor general, you're the right person to become president. But I'm sure there's a lot of distinct differences between the two positions. You know? The governor general is that figurehead of the queen and the monarchy that we're trying to get rid of and get away from. But now you're appointing people that we don't have a real clear idea of what the job is, what it entails, and what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to act. These are very troubling things that we need to address, and they're not being addressed. All this administration is doing is throwing out a lot of red herrings, a lot of draconian laws. I would suggest to go and get one of Carmita Fraser cookbooks and learn to make cuckoo, because then they will know what to do with red herrings. They won't be throwing them out, just throwing red herrings at you all over the place. All of these laws, all of these laws that they're throwing at you, bare red herrings to mask the crime. Nobody talking about the crime no more. The Attorney General ain't talking about the crime no more. He talking about how feasible it is and how legal it is for the free movement. He talking all over his face about everything else. So as far as you would think, from hearing from them, the crime is done or have disappeared. The murders have stopped. They just had a shootout, not even a shooting, a shootout in, where it was, Bayland. You said the other day, the guy cleaning his car, a taxi driver, they robbed him. There's still a lot of crime going on, but they're trying to mask it and just throw a lot of things at you to see if they would stick, and then they would not talk about the crime and the real situation going on in the country. They come with the vehicle rental levy. They come with the tourist accommodation bill, the tent law. And all of these things are just laws to punish the citizens of Barbados, the ordinary citizens of Barbados. Somebody mentioned the middle class, but they ain't even in middle class. They're trying to keep you from getting to the middle class because, like you said, not even one paycheck, maybe half a paycheck away from poverty. So they're still trying to keep you poor and stop you from making any money. Looking at the tourist accommodation bill, they realize that ordinary Barbadians who have an extra room in the house, maybe extra suite, flat upstairs, downstairs, wherever, have a turnkey operation. You don't have to do anything. You already have a property. You're listed on Vrbo or Airbnb. Tourists show up. You do everything virtually. Some people even got the code on the doorway. You never got to show up. You just tell them the code on the door. Beep, beep, beep. They're going, and you get your money through Airbnb. For some rooms and certain things, $100 a night. And you know what I think? That is too much money for people to try to move out of the middle class, out of the lower class and get in the middle class. Ordinary people need to be punished for this. So let's introduce a law that is stating if you don't register and follow certain guidelines, you're going to pay $250,000, an absurd amount of money. You would have to save about $100 a week for 48 years to come to $250,000. They know that, but trust me, they're not foolish. They're not stupid. They know these numbers. They sat down and think about this. But they tell themselves they want a deterrent. They're very smart people. They want a deterrent. They wanted to stop ordinary Bajans, ordinary Barbadians who have these properties and rent them $100 a night. And depending on how many people can stay in the property, if you can put a bed in the hallway and one there, you can sit 8 people, you'll get a lot more money a night. But with them now, with this free movement on their mind, and figuring when these people come into Barbados, what part are they going to stay? Well, we already got a shortage of rooms and houses and apartments affordable in Barbados. So if you scare these people, they're going back and say they're going to go back and rethink it and all of these things. But that is enough to already scare you, because when you put it out there, a person can say, well, they're going back and look at it, they're going to come back again, maybe they can drop from 250,000 to maybe 200,000. Why can't afford that? If they sell $1,000 at first, a fellow might say, man, go and retain, you want to charge me $500, so I mind that. So they put it at an absorbent amount to scare you. So when you hear now people coming from St. Vincent, people coming from Dominica and Belize, you say, oh Lord, I ain't going to, because they say short-term rentals. I ain't doing short-term thing no more. I'm doing a Vrbo and Airbnb. So what I'm going to do is let them rent my place at $150 a week. So now your mind gone from trying to, you just tell yourself, I can move myself a little bit. If I could rent this place for 20 weeks of the year or whatever, times $100 a night, good little money, and I could move myself and advance myself a little bit. But I don't want you to do that. So a lot of people know who was planning to do that, scared now, and going to turn around and rent to some of the long-term people and take themselves now out of the short-term rentals where they can make more money, because they may already scared out of doing that and into something else. They're trying to criminalize and penalize ordinary Bajans with these draconian laws that they're bringing up just to keep us poor, try to keep us on this side in the lower class. When the middle class is over there, 6-lane highway with no stoplights and everything going at 80 miles an hour, you can never get there. You will die trying to get to that other class. And that's what they plan to do with us. But we at Friends of Democracy are here for the ordinary Bajan, for ordinary people. As you have heard speakers go before me have said, we are here for the ordinary Barbadians. And as Andwele said, if you're not here to serve the people and to be a representative and only to be a minister, get out of FOD, get off of the platform, get off of the stage, exit left, and let people who care about Barbadians and their plight and their to step up to the plate, and that is what we are about. There's some other things that they've thrown at us. They bought a lot of money and spent a lot of it on infrastructure. And that too. But what they're trying to do now, we got the Hayat project, we got all these other projects. They're trying to build out and build up Barbados with a lot of infrastructure. But they're not dealing with the people. You can't have a company that is thriving and don't deal with your human resources. Those are the people that have to build up the company. It's not going to run without them. That's why you see sometimes on some of these shows overseas, Undercover Boss, where they got the top of the corporation actually come down and watch the guys in the store in McDonald's serving the fries and different things and say, Lord, this is what I'm going to do down here. I got to make some changes. Because they don't know what's going on at that level. And this government cares nothing about what is going on with ordinary Barbadians. So we want to build up and build out a structure in Barbados to put us on footing and to look like some of the places that I've gone on some of my travels in some of the cities in Mexico, where you stay at a 5-star hotel or you get off of a cruise ship, a nice terminal with all the duty-free shops and little Switzerland and everything else and looking nice. You walk off of the terminal and walk left or right. You come out of a 5-star hotel on the boulevard wherever you are and walk left or right and see poverty like you've never seen. You see little children begging with little homemade trinkets trying to sell them for $1, a peso, or whatever their currency is. So these people have built up massive and bringing in a lot of tourists and bringing a lot of money. And right alongside of these hotels and these different things is poverty like you've never seen, abject poverty. That is what they're trying to do with us in Barbados, because when they done build out all these Hyatts and all these other things, when they come out and go in Greenfield, and now you know a lot of the tourists putting on the Waze and the Google Maps and walking about. So when they left down by the Hyatt and come and say, oh Lord, let me get out here and they go through Gills Gap or out through Greenfield, that's exactly what they're going to see. And so that is what they're trying to do here in Barbados. Keep the poor poor. But we at Friends of Democracy, as Steve said, we are trying to move people into a different category, make people more self-sufficient, make people, believe people less poor than we found them, and do all that we can in our powers to move them up the ladder. I have an ice cream truck, and sometimes we would vend, or used to vend on Spring Garden during Spring Garden, we got Bridgetown Market. And where my truck used to park, for the last 3 years, they told us you can't sell any food from that location anymore because of the cement plant, the hard rock cement thing in the background. So we can't sell on the 3 days for 6-8 hours a day for the 3 days. But there's a flour mill, 24/7, 365 days a week, right next to the same cement plant. Well, some eating cement, I can tell you something that I know it can't hurt, so I got to come out immediately at some point. Every last piece of bread that was baked today at Purity Bakery had to be recalled. They have found, when quality assurance did their test, they have found cement. I'm not making this up. This is coming from an inside source who works within Purity. Because I ordered bread from Purity for a friend of mine who has a shop. And the guy said, you ordered bread from Purity yet for the Morrison? No. He said, well, boy, I know we're going to happen. So if this is really true, and it have to come out, because he said when he left work, cars pulling, people scrambling, trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do. But it's all is inevitable. Cement is so fine and blow through the air so rapidly. Well, I mean, I'm guessing everybody who buy the flour in these bulks. So that is what I heard today. Allegedly, I will say that that everything that they did today was recalled either from the supermarkets, wherever they went. Everything that they did was recalled today because of that. But them don't care. Maloney put this place down there next to the flour mill. They tell me we can't sell anything there for 2 hours because it's cement, but the flour plant next door. So once you are not a Maloney and these other names, you are a Williams and a Grant, and you're Miss Bennett from up through Dash Road. Once we're normal people, they don't care anything about us, but they do everything in their power to advance these other people and to keep us poor and bring draconian laws and all of these rules and punitive damages to keep us poor, to scare us into not doing anything, but just remain where we are. But Friends of Democracy is here to stop that. We are here to change that. We are not going for that anymore. The ordinary people of Barbados matter. They matter to us, and we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that they know that we are here for them, we are looking out for them, and everything that we do is for them. Not far from here, I was out doing some canvassing yesterday with Sandra, and a couple of people brought to our attentions, right up the road here, a pastor they call Bin Pastor. I guess the same people from the area would know it as the Bin Pastor. Oh, I figured that is what it was, a bin, so it's a bin. So okay, the Bin Pastor. Right, I figured something like that. She said over the years, the youngsters in the neighborhood want to go there and play football, play whatever. They put some little benches on it, and that is it. They don't cut the grass. The youngsters used to cut the grass. They won't put any lighting. They won't do anything for the youngsters to play on that pasture. But then when the youngsters find an alternative place to go, down through the gap out there up on the block with the other people, then they blame them and say, look at what they're going and do. But we are not making any provisions for these youngsters. I mean, the pastor that already exists, it is already there. You got to knock down the houses and knock them down, make the pastor. It is already there. Put some lights. Get some maintenance. Let these youngsters, if they want to play football, cricket, whatever they want to play, go and play. Stop stigmatizing them. Stop neglecting them. And stop making them follow a different path. Make a path, make a way for these youngsters. A lot of activities. Many years ago, when I was in high school, I got to say high school because it was the States. I was in a class one day, and teachers were handing out some books that all the children pelting at one another because they didn't want to read these little leaflets. It was something called Scholastic Scope. And I started to flip the pages, and something caught my eye. It was the world ranking of literacy rates. And I saw Barbados as number 2 behind China with 99 point something literacy rate. You won't say what year that was. All these years later, I'm pretty sure that some of you have kids and grandkids know that these children of today are much smarter than we were at their age. Sometimes they use some words and some conjunctions. Let me check and see if you're using that word right. Some of these little youngsters have never gone to school yet or just gone into school. These children are smarter than we were back then. So if they were smarter than we were back then, how comes we are raising a generation of children that they're still coming out of secondary school and can't reading at primary school levels? Something got to be wrong. We are failing our children. As we have said many times, we have a policy. It's an educational policy, but it's also a policy that we have as part of combating crime. And as either it was Ricky or Andwella said earlier, we had a conversation with someone during the week that talked about our policy on capital punishment. They didn't like it at all, ranting and raving about it, but we said that's not the only policy. That is the policy for people who cannot be saved at this point. This is the policy for people who commit these egregious crimes, these murders, these heinous crimes. That is the policy for them. We also have a policy to steer the young people away from crime. And there's a policy that we talk about testing the youngsters while they're still in primary school. Rigorously testing them and putting them on a different path. Not just testing them and say, Philip got, telling the teacher in class, well, look, Philip got dyslexia, so don't make you read in front of the class, don't embarrass you, you know. And then the next thing, he gone to class 4, he gone on to another school, and the same thing happening, and he come out and can't read. We have to arrest this in certain stages. As we mentioned before, our policy on that. I'm going to expand a little bit on that policy here for you tonight. And this is a comprehensive plan for testing the behavioral problems of the young students while they're still in primary school. And the objectives will be for early identification of behavioral and emotional and social challenges. Because you want to provide targeted interventions to prevent escalation. We also support healthy development and reduce future criminal behavior, because that is at the core of this entire thing. Also to get the children the help they need, but we know you're going to stop them from falling into a life of crime and into the wrong hands. It would also foster collaboration among educators, parents, mental health professionals, and community resources. And this is the framework of the policy. It will mandate behavioral screenings in all primary schools. It will ensure compliance with privacy laws and ethical standards. We just don't do it willy-nilly and just do what we feel like doing. So we're going to respect privacy, and ethical standards will also be employed. We will incorporate culturally sensitive and developmentally appropriate assessment tools. We look at some of the world standards. It ain't hard to find these things. Find what other people do in these situations and apply it to us, because our children are important, just as important as the ones in Asia, North America, South America, wherever they employ these things. Our children are just as important and should have access to these tools to help them develop and not fall into a life of crime. To implement this, there'll be a screening process. We will use validated, age-appropriate behavioral screening tools, like strength and difficulty questionnaires and behavioral and emotional screening systems. So it will apply only directly to the children. You've got to find out exactly how it works for them at their age appropriate, and deal with them to suit. We can conduct screenings probably more than once a year, at the beginning of the term and maybe at the end. I mean, if you got enough resources, maybe in the middle too, to see if somebody develops who wasn't screening on the charts in the beginning, have developed something, maybe they're on the cusp, and now they have developed a little bit more. So you want to make sure that between class 1 and class 2, you only test once, and by the time you get to class 2, it's too far gone. So you have to continue to do this testing with some of these children. And with this, we want to include both teacher assessment and parent questionnaires. We're getting everybody involved. Then like when they went to one of these certain schools and had these children ask them a whole bunch of inappropriate questions that nobody had any idea about what they were asking. We're getting all stakeholders involved in this process. We're going to train the staff. We're going to provide training for teachers, schools counselors, administrators, on administering the screenings and interpreting the results. Because you can't just screen, get a result, and say, oh, it's a 10. Nobody knows what 10 is. You have to go back and look at the different elements and see what that is and what that child needs to get them the appropriate things that they need. And that's have not been happening. You can't just test and say, okay, you have to take it a step further and find out exactly what is going on and how we're going to help this child or these children going forward. Then we have follow-up assessments. We will refer students who are flagged with concerns for comprehensive psychological evaluations by licensed professionals. We need to have more psychologists and psychiatrists, not necessarily attached to every school, but at least to every district, to every area, that when these children are found to be lacking or found to need help, they can get the help. You can't start and don't finish. You have to have a comprehensive plan if you're going to make any sort of a difference. And this difference will manifest itself in years to come. We will see a big decline in the amount of children and youngsters who come out and can't read, who coming out and ending up on the block because nobody cared about them in school. They coming out and end up with somebody to say, care about you, put a gun in their hand and say, go and do this. And the mental faculties and all of the best, and they go and do what they have to do. And spend the next 20 years in Dodds. We are trying to get away from that. This is something I care dearly about. The youngsters, like I tell you at the last meeting, me and some of the friends in New York used to hang out on what they call a block. Troop Avenue between Jefferson and Hancock in Brooklyn. Sit down on the step, we did down high school. Sit down on the step and hang out. People in the building have some Bajans that own a couple of the buildings. So, Lord, don't tell the truth, don't go hunt with them. Hear them is bad news. We was between minds. We left school. Don't know what to do. Don't know where to go. I'm trying to figure out yourself. It's the summer. But I know, so they had me stigmatized and set during that summer or the 2 summers between 11 and 12th grade, which would be like 4th and 5th form. Now you already pegged as something that was no good. Who then ended up going in the Marines, went in the Army, went in the Navy, went in the Air Force. No one, none of them ended up in prison. They was looking for that because they thought that's where we were going because we there up on the block hanging out. A little corner store across the road, we was 18, we have of legal imbibing age. The boys would still drink a little Heineken or a little Guinness. And we sit down and talk. So they thought the boys was heading, but it's a period of time where you don't know where you're going. You're just sitting there trying to find out what is going to happen. All of them boys went into service. Some went on and just started to work. I went off to college. And none of them boys today are incarcerated. A lot of them working in hotels. A lot of them working in the hospitals. A lot of them getting ready to retire and come back home with big pensions. A lot of them come down here ready and buy houses. And that's the next thing. We would not fix our health care system down here enough. And the biggest complaint I hear about people living overseas who are about to retire or have retired and got $1 million properties in Bed-Stuy and all over that can sell them houses and walk away with $1 million, $2 million Barbados dollars, come home and invest it and prop up this economy in a way. The health care. That's why I can't go home and live. I'm going to QEH and dead. So that is the biggest concern that a lot of them have. And that is stopping a lot of economic growth within the country. There's a lot of people out there living in the States, and I'm sure in Canada, England, these places, that just don't want to come back home because the health care, as they say, would kill them. So these are the things we have to look at. These are things that friends of democracy are looking at, you know. We're looking at these things from down micro. We ain't looking at saying, oh, the crime is out of control, kill them. We ain't saying the hospital bad, what we going to do? We're looking at things to stop the cycle from happening. Things to stop this system and this systemic failure from failing the youth and the elderly. Because there's another side that we care about dearly, you know. They work hard all the day, as Steve said, when they get the pension, when they get whatever. Don't tax it. They already pay the dues. They came and made this place and leaving this place a better, it might be in a bad way, but they're leaving it in a much better place than they found it. So as bad as you might think it is, they did their work, they did their dues, they paid their dues. They should be respected and should be able to live the rest of their life in comfort without worrying about taxes and being taxed out of the system. And if they got a little room downstairs that the grandson gone off to college or gone wherever and they want to rent it as an Airbnb, shouldn't be worrying about, oh Lord, $250,000 what I gonna do? Well, might as well have it empty. Stop trying to criminalize the people. We are here for the people of Barbados. Friends of Democracy is here for the middle class, the lower class, and to try to raise people out of the lower class into the middle class and beyond. And not just certain people with certain names that get certain concessions. Even with these bills that they're talking about, they want to call people with the short-term rentals and with the rental cars as part of the tourist industry. The hotels and other places getting concessions on a whole bunch of things because they're considered to be in the tourist industry. So when you got a little Airbnb and they want to charge you all these exorbitant prices, you want to go and buy some nice curtains, one of these nice rain showers so the people can sew a lot of bed on this nice rain shower. They ain't getting the concessions on them things. They don't consider you to be part of the tourist and the tourism industry at that point. Only when you collect your money, they want some of it because now you're in the tourism industry and you should be held to a higher standard. But I hope you know that Airbnb and Verbo already hold people who are registered with them to a very high standard. You can't advertise on Airbnb and Verbo and say you got something that you don't have, or got something that's contrary to their rules. I have a brother have an Airbnb in somewhere in Michigan. I think it's Detroit. It might be Detroit because I think he catered to a lot of people from the Detroit Red Wings hockey team. And he had 2 units, but between the units is a hallway section where people don't, people just go in the door. And he had a camera in that section. So if anybody come out to the unit, he ain't got it inside the unit because that is invading people's privacy. But he had a unit where the stairways go up from one unit to the next. And it wasn't a problem for a long time. Until a big family came and rented both units. And as one of the guys going from downstairs to upstairs to visit whoever, you see the camera. Boop, 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 he called, put it online, whatever, and complained to Airbnb. And had that boy shut down for 2 weeks till he removed that camera and proved that the camera was gone. Everything that happens with Airbnb, Verbo, Uber, Lyft, and all of these online, what it's called in the US now, they call them the gig economy that have popped up. They all have a lot of rules in place because they have to protect a product and a service that they cannot see. They're not their employees. They can't tell you today, you were a little late today. So they have everything controlled in cyberspace, if you want to call it. They have everything controlled remotely. So when you advertise a place here, I'm not saying the government shouldn't tell the SEBI need to get involved and do certain things, but there's no need for the micromanagement. You cannot advertise, you got the window facing the sea, and when the customer get there, it's facing the street. In 2 tools, they're going to tell Verbo and Airbnb that is not so, and they're going to got you already sanctioned. So there's no need for this micromanager and trying to hold people, ordinary people, accountable and push them into something different. And then they're trying to rent out this place and help the little son or grandson with his studies or whatever. You take that away, and the little youngsters away, granny ain't give me that little change no more. Boy got to find a little way to make it. And the boys go in the block and tell you, you just need a gun and a mask, and you're good. And that is what's going to happen. We have to stop that nonsense. We at Friends of Democracy are committed to stopping that kind of things from happening and getting our boys, youngsters, back on track. With this plan, we can also have monitoring and evaluation because you have to monitor what's going on and evaluate the results of what is happening. So we track the students' progress and program effectiveness and adjust the strategies based on the data and feedback. So don't think that what we say we're going to do, how we can test, what's going to happen here today, that is going to be it forever. At some point, you come back and you say, let's see how it is working. Bring the data. Let's see who we are bringing off of the streets. Let's see how many people are being affected by this. And you monitor and you look to change whatever you're doing for the better so that you are changing and have a better effect on the youngsters. And then we're going to report all findings. We're going to report the findings to stakeholders and the policymakers regularly. We're not leaving any stone unturned in the process. We have to take the process from the beginning all the way to the end for it to be effective. And this is a comprehensive policy that Friends of Democracy have for education and to keep the youngsters, through education, out of the criminal justice system and out of becoming criminals. Now you might ask how we're going to fund it. So the funding, well, we can allocate certain funding to training the staff and for the intervention of programs. They find money for all kinds of things around here. There's money to be found somewhere to save. If there's any money to save the children, there's no generation coming behind us that is worth anything. So like I said, a company must invest in their human resources if they want to have a viable company and keep a company growing. If you don't invest in them, I don't know what else you're going to have. You're going to have the cashiers, you're going to have the other hierarchy of employees and individuals. If you don't invest in the youngsters and the people of Barbados, what are we looking forward to going forward to the next generation? It is sad, but we are trying to stop that at Friends of Democracy. We'll also look at the ethical considerations, and we will obtain informed consent from parents and guardians. Again, we're not taking a child and, hey, teacher or earhead or something to this boy, he's a little slow, take him in there and you ask him a whole bunch of different questions that is inappropriate. This is something that will be done with the consent of a parent and guardian. This child was identified for such and such. We want to test him, and here the outline, here the rules, here's what are going to happen, and the parents and guardians give their permission. We will also protect the student's privacy and data security. You know nowadays with everything online and with the AI and all of that, you have to be very, very, very careful. You don't want to embarrass any of these children. You don't want this data to get out. You don't want anybody discussing these things with a child for anybody to know what disabilities or what psychological or psychiatric kind of problems these children may have, psychiatric problems they may have. We need to keep that information under wraps, and the privacy of the students in consultation with the parents very, very close to our vest. We will also ensure that interventions are supportive and not punitive or stigmatizing. That is important. Again, you don't want any of these children that get into any of these programs, getting in this testing, to feel stigmatized or to feel that you're punishing them for what has happened to them. So it's a supportive system all the way around. Now, public awareness and engagement. We will launch information campaigns to educate communities about behavioral health. It's like a taboo. People don't want to talk about it. Back in the day when there was a lot of people who were found to be a little mentally unstable, they would put them up in the attic somewhere and hide them away from everybody else because they didn't want to talk about it. You have to declimatize normal people about these things. They're to be spoken about, but you cannot stigmatize the youngsters who have fallen through the cracks or who are in these positions. So you have to have a campaign that sensitizes the normal people, everybody, parents, friends, family, everybody, to these things. I know this is what is happening. You know that it's normal. It is something that happens. So don't stigmatize or have any punitive results for any of these children. The long-term goals of this is to reduce the incidence of behavioral problems that lead to criminal activity. And that's what we've been saying all along. That is part of our plan to reduce the crime. Not just the hangings or lethal injections or what have you, but we are starting from the beginning and trying to change these children from jump, that they grow up in a different society, in a different place, and get their heads wrapped around a different type of behavior. It will also promote resilience and positive social skills in children. And that is very, very important, because a lot of these children don't have these things. So we have to try and promote the social skills, positive social skills for some of these children. It was also build a supportive environment and prioritize mental health and development. So this is a plan that we have, that we've spoken about and touched on a little bit here and there at a few meetings. This is the plan here, spelled out from beginning to end, how it would work, how it would affect children, how we would not only stick to one thing, but go back and look at data, look at what we can do differently, look at how many children are affected or not affected and see if it is working or not, and go back to the drawing board. Not that this government now that just coming up with things on the flip of a dime and saying this is what it is, and then when somebody push back against it, oh, let's go back to the drawing board. They talk about the education reform, they throw it out there, throw a lot of straws out there for a bit of grass back, but they're not going to do anything about it, because it was not really a comprehensive plan. They didn't even tell you how they're going to pay for any of it. They never really tell you the nitty-gritty of what it's going to be. We just outline here a plan that we have to effectively take these youngsters and make a difference in their lives. That is what Friends of Democracy is all about. We care about the children and the youth of our country. We care about the elderly. We care about everybody in between. But we have to take care of the elderly because they did a lot for us, and they've gotten to that stage by sacrificing their self, working in the cane fields, working all boat, working in the hot sun, all kinds of things, and we have to take care of them. They said we are an aging population. A lot of them are not even dying out as early as they did. So what are you going to do? You have to put something in place. People living to 80 and 90. We went to retire at 65 or 67. We should be done with them, left up on their own, let them dead. And the youngsters that coming up, unless we do something, again, they're going to fall through the cracks. we will not have a generation coming behind us that they are smarter than us, but they will appear that they are not. We will end up in a very bad situation. And like I said, they'll have us in a position where this is going to be a country built up with nice big hotels and five-star hotels and the Hyatt and all kinds of things. And when they come around the corner, desperate children, desperate people begging for a dollar, begging for a handout because we did not do what we were supposed to do as a government. And this, Friends of Democracy, that is a government in waiting, we're starting now. We're starting strong. And we're making sure that all of the people of Barbados, ordinary people, have a voice. They ain't got no voice right now. The 29, they get that first 30 love, the second one, and they became more emboldened. They were already emboldened, and they said they used it as a mandate. But they put me in here, they put all me, they think they put nobody else, because they want we do as we feel like. And don't tell them about it, tell them about it after. Well, you see, they're talking about people that get these tickets in the mail for speeding. I don't read the paper every day, and I don't listen to the news, but I don't know when they ever told you that this was going to be happening. And we've seen a lot of these different things around with the cameras, whatever they are. People say they're getting these tickets in the mail and asking them to report within X amount of days, and by the time they get the thing in the mail or the email, 5 or 6 days are already gone, and they're not even telling you what you're supposed to do. I mean, they got a lot of speed cameras and red light cameras and things all over the U.S., but the general thing you normally see as you're approaching a camera, I mean, you will hear it on your Waze or your Google saying, speed camera ahead or something. But they always have a sign telling you, speed cameras in use, red light cameras in use. That don't mean everybody that see it, they so can't slow it down. They can still get people and still get money from them, but they warn you before. But these people are warning you, they're only trying to make everything in Barbados about money. And money from who? The ordinary Barbadians. That got a little car. You can hardly afford the little gas, because now we're paying at the pump instead of and we're paying 10 times the amount. Gas going up in Barbados all over the place, and it dropping all over. It dropped by a cent here. Yeah. So when it dropped by a cent, it still ain't dropped because they're using the cents. Oh, Lord, see what I mean to tell you? So these things are happening, and we are not seeing any relief for the ordinary person that got to try to get 2 children to school, one down here, one up there, and get to work, and you can hardly afford the car. No, they want to pay the remove tent. They want to pay for the speeding. I mean, if you're speeding, you're speeding. But at least alert me that when I drop off Mary down by this school, and I got a car John up to the other school, I would take the foot off of the lever a little bit because I'm late. But at least all they're trying to do, everything that they do, is just to punish ordinary Bajans. That is the thing that got me. They're just trying to punish you and make sure that you don't grow from strength to strength. You don't move from one class to the next. You just remain poor. That's what they want to do. Exactly. They just want to conquer and rule. Keep you poor and you just say yes to everything that they do, and there's no objection, there's no opposition, there's nothing. But with Friends of Democracy, we are here to let you know, give us a chance, give us half a chance, as Steve said, and there will be a difference. You'll see a difference in everything that's going on in your lives. We are here for the people of Barbados. St. Michael Central, Friends of Democracy, thank you very much.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Raymond, St. Michael Central is waiting in anticipation for you to be the next MP. Congratulations, congratulations. Well, it's time for the lady of the evening, our president, when we were in search of a president to lead this party, young political party. Karina Goodrich put up her hands and said, choose me. And we chose her. Friends of Democracy, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium to bring her address, our president, attorney at law, Karina Goodrich.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Blackett. Thank you so much. Good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your support to the Friends of Democracy political party. Not no other name that they would give us except political party. I have come down to St. Michael Central to support Mr. Raymond Wiggins. I could assure Barbados that if they choose him for this constituency, they have chosen someone who will support them in every form and fashion. I am certain that he is one that will come with integrity. He is one that will come and bring the policies that will change the lives of the Barbadians in this constituency. We need a change right now in Barbados. I have been walking around, and when I walk and talk to members, persons, and citizens of Barbados, they keep telling me, my girl, you have a hard task. So they believe that the task is hard. But I don't mind that the task is hard, you know. Because when they tell me that Barbados don't like new things or new parties, I reply and I say, look, if you come down with a coal tomorrow and you don't see Buckley's on the shelf, you yourself, you are going to try Canovia, or you're going to try Methodex or something else. You're not going to stay there and say, okay, I'm going to die with the coal. And I say all that to say, what is going on in this country, you have to pay close attention to. Because right now in Barbados, there is a need for a strong opposition, an opposition that will speak on behalf of this nation and defend people. We need an opposition that will keep checks and balances on this government. It is necessary. And every time I take the mic, I will remind every Barbadian. So the first people tonight that I'm speaking to is St. Michael Central. St. Michael Central. You cannot afford to allow another 30-0 to take place. The Friends of Democracy have credible candidates. All are not announced as yet, but the announcement is coming. You need the opposition to defend, to keep checks and balances, to ensure that when legislation is being passed and that legislation is unnecessary, you have people that will speak out. And when this government decides to go too far, you need a voice that will support you, that will speak on your behalf. When one party controls everything, that is where arrogance replaces accountability and corruption seeps in. We cannot have a corrupted nation, and we must take a stance against it. This is the time for change. I keep telling people that this is the season for change. And we in the Friends of Democracy must stand tall no matter the attacks, no matter how they come from the north, from the east, from the south to the west. We must stand up for what we believe in. The policies that you heard tonight, to all the guest speakers who spoke tonight, I thank you because your message was clear. Whether you talk soft or hard, you had a strong message. And I know that each and every person who took this mic tonight carried the heart of Barbados. And I carry a special feeling in my heart for the elderly, because the elderly in this country has existed to see how the past was and how the future could be and what they went through from time to time. They've seen the changes with the Barbados Labour Party, and they've seen the changes in the Democratic Labour Party, and they've seen the third parties that have tried. They have seen the new parties that have emerged, and they know that this Barbados can be a better place. And I will advocate for it. And Friends of Democracy will advocate for it. You see, this tourism accommodation bill Tonight, I want to address it because I can't believe it. I can't believe that if a person is an Airbnb owner, you wish for that owner to impose the same, you want to impose on them the same strict measures that you will impose on a big hotel. How could you? How could it be even fair in the minds of the people that allow this legislation to pass? And this government is a one step forward, two step backward government. And if you know the song by Serenade, you will already hear it singing in your head. We cannot allow 1 foot forward and 2 steps backwards all the time. You wouldn't have to be walking backwards if you did what was right in the first place. And it takes consultation. It takes speaking with the stakeholders. All of that is necessary. It is the bread and butter of this nation. And if you're watching tourism properly, you will recognize that tourism demands are changing. It's not everybody who comes here that wants to go to a hotel. Some people want to go to a little villa, a condo. Some of them have different needs and expectations. So when you go now to this villa, people want certain amenities. They may want a 2-bathroom. So we are looking out. Friends of Democracy is looking out for non-hotel accommodators. We are looking out for them because we cannot allow you to be subjected to these compliance demands. And if you do not comply, did you hear the fine? The fine is $250,000. That is why you see Lynette Holder from the Small Business Association was one of the persons who had to speak out and said, no, even a fraction of that fine will hurt those business owners. And worse, if you want to bring a bill like that, my God, you want to tell me that you are not going to offer the grants, the loans, and the concessions that will make it easy for these people then to comply with these stringent laws? We really need to think about what is fair, when this government brings legislation that could hurt businesses. So persons who actually want to rent out a room, you want them to be subject to these strict measures. Like a person who have a hotel or a resort with 200 rooms. Think about it for a second. Because you see, in Barbados, sometimes we really have to ask an important question. Who is looking out for us? And I know that many people may not want to say that Friends of Democracy are looking out for them. They may not see it yet. But if you are a right-thinking person, you will recognize that we are looking out for you. But who is looking out for you? Who is looking out for these persons, these small business owners? Who is looking out for a pensioner who barely has enough to buy the medication, to buy the food, and decides, you know what? I want to rent out my little apartment over there. And when I rent out my apartment, this is the extra income that I can make. And then now some government comes and tells you you are subject to all of these strict measures. It is unreasonable and it is unnecessary. The bill should be scrapped, and I stand and join hands with anyone who agrees that the bill should be scrapped. It should be scrapped. Don't say that you're going to go away and have the consultations. No, you should have done that first. You're going to go and have the conversations now to bring some reintroduction of the bill. We really need to know if this government really cares for the people, really is studying the needs of the people, looking at things on a large scale, and not, and not dismissing the fact that these things these non-accommodation these non-accommodation places need the income. They need the income that is coming in. You know, sometimes I get so fed up when I'm talking about it because I can't believe it that you had all of this time in government and it feels as though the decisions that you are making have not been to the benefit of the people. And we can't lie. As much as people come and they say, oh, all the opposition does do is criticize, we have to keep the government accountable. We have to ensure that in Barbados there is good governance. And that is the role of any person who calls themselves an opposition to the government. And you need it because if you had the right people in Parliament speaking out against that bill, it wouldn't have reached so far. It wouldn't have gotten so far. No. As I said, the Friends of Democracy calls for that tourism accommodation bill of 2025 to be totally scrapped. Bajan terms, scrapped. It is unnecessary. No. My next issue, and let me just say first, I love my brothers and sisters of this region. I fully support Dominicans, persons from St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, and Belize. But you see, I am one who also strongly supports accountability. And I know that this government, even if they don't say the words out of their mouth, they know that they were not properly prepared. So we had they want unity, but were they properly prepared? So I'm talking about CARICOM. This CARICOM free movement. Then I will get to CARIFESTA. So with this free movement, I read the papers on the 11th day of October, and I could not believe it. I heard the Prime Minister there saying, you know, there would be an issue, because they say they will be ready by October the 1st. But she said there would be an issue if the individuals had came here to start a job, right, without the work permit. Because, of course, the legislation was not in place for persons to come here when they said that they would be ready. And that is the issue. So basically, if I came from any of these countries and I came here and I was ready to work, I would have had to get a work permit. And we cannot sit by and allow our brothers and sisters to believe that Barbados is a place that operates like that. Because Barbados can't operate like that. And as much as they make excuses, you know, some of them are not even accountable enough to come out. These ministers in Parliament and the PM can't even come out I like how he said we are a new government with current. So I do apologize for that small intermission break. We are back with you, and thank you for holding on. So listen, I am a strong believer, yes, that the free movement is good. But I am also a stronger believer, and I speak on behalf of this party, I am a strong believer that we for sure need to understand that home drum still has to beat first. Right? So we want to ensure that when persons come to this country, that the Bajans are not left behind. So we want a Bajan first hire policy where we could ensure that businesses have checks and ensure that no Barbadian could fill these posts. Because we don't want there to be a case where there's job insecurity, you know? And for instance, take this scenario. If an individual will be working in a job and they're getting $18 per hour, we don't want no employer to say, all right, well, some non-national will come to the country and I rather give that individual the work for, say, $10.50 per hour. Right? We're not discriminating in any way, but we are looking out for the Barbadians. So, basically, we want to ensure that our Bajan people get work. Because if you don't know, a lot of Barbadians here are still unemployed and we still have unemployment issues. So we have to ensure that our people get jobs. That is necessary. So that policy, if we have that in place, and we can have a conversation about that, but we need something like that in place, right? To ensure that our people can eat and drink and survive and thrive in these hard economic times. That's all. But we support CARICOM. We support our brothers and our sisters coming here from the other countries 100%. But home drum must beat first. Okay. Let me go back to Carifesta, man. Let me talk about Carifesta. Because we in this country, we like enough celebrating. Enough celebrating, right? But then, when you have to ask questions, people don't want to answer the questions or they don't have the answer. We know that when Carifesta came, it was good. People enjoyed themselves. People visit the country. But we also know that money was spent. Money was spent. And it is fair as taxpayers to ask what was the cost. We had Dr. Chantel Monroe Knight. She came out and they say that they will provide those financial figures. And since then, over a month has passed, and we have not gotten the figures. So I guess that the Prime Minister is there sitting with fingers crossed, hoping that it did not cost over $100 million. But whatever the cost is, whether it's 20 million, 50 million, 100 million, we want to know the cost of the Carifesta. Because what you're telling us is that there was some open checkbook and it perhaps was not properly budgeted for. This is, you work hard in this country, people. You are the taxpayers of this country. We are not dead, we are alive. And as long as we are alive, we know that we are subject to taxes and duties and levies. So when we ask the question, we want to know. We don't want to hear no ifs or buts about it. What happened that some of the workers are still waiting on payments? I stand in the gap for you because you are still there waiting on your payment from your service, from your time. from your patriotism, you give time, you give energy, you made sure that you were right there at the Carry Fest and you have a right to be paid whatever you are owed. People work, you pay them. If you owe the government, you have to pay them. So in time, if the government owes you, tell them to pay you. I tell you, Bajans too quiet, you know. Too quiet. See, we had the nation in here. We should be down by the nation house, keeping a lot of noise when people owe you money. That's how you utilize the nation. You can call them, they're accessible, and let them know, look, I work at Carry Festa, and since then, I have not received my money. Don't be frightened for nobody in this country. I certainly am not. And I know my candidates are not. And I know the spokespersons are not. And I know by now that you know that a lot of members from this party came out of the Democratic Labour Party. So you know that we are fighters and we ain't frightened for nothing. Because we will fight for justice and fairness and accountability in this country. We understand that change is necessary. We understand that you don't subject yourself to unfairness. You don't allow people at the top to humiliate you. We understand that this government owes us a duty. As long as we are citizens, they owe us a duty. Treat us properly, treat us right. Good. Place now getting hotter. And the place full up. We ain't miss out a seat tonight. And I want to really speak at this moment on this VAT policy. Because a friend of mine, you know, but me and said, man, Karina, I realized that you're in a VAT war. I said, well, if it's a war, them a bring. Tell them, bring the war. Because we are not backing down from our policy. And we know that this policy on VAT will help to ease the burden of the high cost of living. We have a high cost of living in Barbados and we feel it. So don't mind all the fancy talk and the statistics that they come with. Because when Mr. Strong came out, we read the papers. He wouldn't even address us as a political party. I don't know if that is his fault, so I don't want to put fault on him wrongfully. But we are a political party. In case he didn't know, I will say over and over. And you see this value-added tax policy? We Friends of Democracy got a lot of support on that policy. And they try to change up certain things that we say and undermine that policy. But that policy, we didn't just say, okay, well, you know, we will abolish the 17.5% VAT on everything, on all goods, everywhere. We made sure that in the conference, we said specifically that when we abolish the value-added tax, it would be on food items. And we did say that we would introduce a 16% tax at the port. And that abolition of the 17.5% VAT, we said that it would be at the port, and we also said it would be at the retail end, at the points of sale. So my dear fellow citizens, when you go to the supermarket, you don't want to feel as though you're going through a double tax. You need that 19% reduction on the food bill, so that when you go there and you buy and you pick up whatever groceries you pick up, and it is food items, that you feel as though, yes, I can live, I can afford this. And even better, you know how you got KFC? I call this the parish But we got the community food centers. So you know you got KFC, so put the PFC. So we got the parish food centers, all right? So you can't forget it there. Remember PFC. So when you go to KFC, think about PFC. Let me do that ad. Today at the Friends of Democracy, we have the PFC for you. And the PFC is going to ensure that in every parish of Barbados, we have food centers for you. And those food items will be at affordable prices. If you don't celebrate, that means that you're not bothered at all about the cost of living. Let me tell you, when you have that, and we have all those toiletries and baby items, you know, at that reduced price, and all those things that you need as a woman for personal care, my God, you're going to feel at ease. You're going to feel like if, you know, something is lifted off of you. They have some people that just can't afford certain things, certain food items at all. So we will war on behalf of every citizen. Because let me tell you something, some of you think that the rich people like the high prices. No, sometimes they like cheap too. Sometimes they like cheap too. So we strongly support this policy, and we are going to push for it, because we know that if we were in government, that will be something that we push for. We are advocating for it, and no matter what they say, they try to make you feel as though you're stupid, that you're talking foolishness, that it's not possible. You know, government will collect their taxes at the port, the 16%. That ensures that you get your revenue. We're not taking that away from the government. We're just looking out for people. And that is what true governance to me is. Looking out for the people. How could you be in government and you're forgetting the people, the very people that made significant contribution to this country? No, you can't forget people. You can't just think about legislation and policies just to enforce some kind of punishment on people. You're just thinking about the taint law, the wiretapping. And we here at the Friends of Democracy are thinking, let's see how we could ease this burden off of people. Let's see when Christmas come around and people have to do the mass shopping and you want to buy more things, you know, when you look at your food bill, then you could smile and you say, yes, man, I could afford. Because we know that many people here, you know, barely receive sometimes just the minimum wage. And we have to look out for people. Good. So that is something that I want you to remember. Good. This brings my mind to another issue here. And I won't be just talking on issues, so you will listen carefully before we get that criticism that all we ever do is criticize. I am concerned about the schools in Barbados. I heard Mr. Wiggins address a bit of the education sector, yes? But I am concerned about the neglect on the schools. You may have seen me online praising the Garrison School because it's my old school, the Graydon Seeley School. And they celebrated the 50th anniversary. But I get really concerned at the amount of excuses that this government, you know, is coming with when it comes to school children. Look at what happened at the Wesley Hall Infant School. Every excuse is that repairs are not finished. So we can spend money on festivals and all the parties and so on, but when it comes to really looking out for the young people who will be the future of this nation, we are not caring enough to get things in place. Repairs are not finished, and they had to go to the YMCA in an uncomfortable situation, right? Too many times, our students have to hear that excuse that the school is not ready to accommodate them. We're moving them here, we're moving them there, and they're at, where now? That's the Lawrence T. Gay Primary School that they moved them to now. Enough is enough. Too many excuses. We need to, as a government, they need to spend the money in the right places. There's too much mismanagement of the funds. Too many unanswered questions. You want to tell me you have 2 months of a semester, and still, by the time school's supposed to start, 2 months of the summer, 2 months of the summer, and by the time school start, you still ain't ready? COVID has done. We need to fix the education system in Barbados, and we need to ensure that we have proper accommodation for these students. We need to ensure that when they sit in a school, that the environment is a comfortable one. I always grow up and hear the saying, what you don't like for yourself, don't do to nobody. So what you wouldn't like for yourself, just because they may not be your children, don't do it to anybody. No. If we talk on education, we will spend the whole night in here, because there are just too many issues, too many proposals, but still, at this point of time, it's still ain't right yet. It's still ain't right yet. No. I love the pension policy that Mr. Blackett spoke on tonight. I was walking through a certain constituency right here in Barbados, and I met an elderly man. When I met this elderly man, first of all, the conditions that the individual was living in, it broke my heart. I can tell you, it broke my heart. Because whenever I meet an elderly person, I try to picture myself, years from now. How would I stand, So when I looked at him, I said, sir, well, I introduced myself. And I said, your pot smell really good, man. It really reminded me of my grandfather's food. My grandfather had a little remedy, a recipe where he would have like the breadfruit cut up with the little pigtails, and then he made sure that he put a little spinach in the rice, and somehow it just smells sweet coming through. And the thing about this gentleman, all outside of the house was a lot of bottles. So my first question to him was, how can you have so much bottles? And he said, man, that's how I get an extra income. And this is a true story, so I want you to listen to this, because there's a citizen in this country, and this is real truth. They're not lying story, This man had all the bottles outside, and he said that this is how he gets an extra income. And if you know, right, if you ever sell bottles, you will know you don't make a lot of money off of selling no bottles. You really don't. So imagine that as an extra income. And he said, I'm really not pleased with what's going on in this country, because I remember this country years ago, and things were so different. It was never something like this. It's unexplainable. It's like it's all over the place. It's like it's mismanaged. It's like it's some kind of corruption. It's like if, the ministers have forgotten the poor people, and he considered himself as in the class of a poor person based on his situation. And it is things like these that take my mind, to the policies that we have. Because we're thinking, hey, these pensioners, you're still taking out taxes out of the pension, and the pension is barely enough to survive. That gentleman said he was waiting 3 years. Even when they had COVID, he was still waiting on an operation at the QEH. And still waiting now. He said, every time that I go, there's a turnaround, and a turnaround here, or another excuse, something they're saying to come back, and come back another time. So his life there is just there, waiting for that operation, waiting to know, how am I going to get a little ease to survive? he can't even afford to go to a private doctor. So you see why our policies are important when you hear about a pension policy that would ensure that there's 67% exemption on the taxes of that pension. You see how necessary it is that only 33% then of the pension will be taxed. You see at least that Friends of Democracy is thinking about the elderly. Do you know that the Barbados Association for Retired Persons had wanted that same policy years ago? They wanted something like that so that the pensioners will not be subject to the taxes, the duties, the levies. Come on. Because while we're in one room, they're in another room, and they're barely trying to make ends meet. Remember, as the cost of living rises, your pension is not rising, my dear friends. Your pension is rising while the cost of living rising. So if years ago somebody, by the grace of God, is still living, right? And years ago they had, you could get perhaps, say, a turkey for $20, and you know in 2025 and you got to pay $99, well, God help you. God help you. Because you got to make sure that your pension is enough. And it's not every elderly person that has the support of a family member. Because we know that in this country that sometimes, many times, they are neglected by sometimes your same family. So it is the government's responsibility to create policies that will help them to survive on their own if they don't have support. So if, for instance, a pensioner was getting a $3,000 check, we are saying that when they receive that $2,000 and $10, that will be tax-free. And the $990 will be subject to tax. If you do the math, I'm talking about the 67% and the 33%. I'm doing the math for you. People need an ease, and that pension policy will help this country, will help the pensioners. The pensioners have contributed significantly to this country. They've already, as Mr. Blackett said, contributed to the consolidated fund. They've already paid a lot of taxes. And we know that paying the taxes, sometimes it feels like a great burden. So I don't understand how any minister out there will really be refusing to even consider the proposals from the Friends of Democracy. They will probably come at us for this one too. Because anytime you want to ease poor people, you'll find some people just come out there to say, no, it can't be done. No, it can't be done. But a great reminder for the value-added tax is that they wrote off the $1 billion. They wrote off the $1 billion in VAT. That is a reminder. I will repeat it again. They wrote off the $1 billion in VAT. So how you are telling the Friends of Democracy that it is not possible to implement a policy, and we have another one for you to scrutinize. Go and scrutinize the pension policy too. We stand by our policies. Good. Bajans are tired. Bajans are tired, and I really hope that Barbados don't come to the place where we become silent. You know, sometimes it's good when you get notes, because I tell myself tonight I don't want to forget nothing that I have to say, whether on camera or not. I don't want to forget it. We, the Friends of Democracy, you would have heard my friend here, Ricardo Harrison. We are friends. And he was talking about housing. And he said, don't want to misquote him, that he have a proposal for a land tax exemption on properties up to $400,000. And you know that the government heard that about the day after, you heard them repeated the same words. But I want you to watch our videos and to remember that these proposals came from the Friends of Democracy. Those were our proposals. They haven't come up with the ideas that we come up with. And when I'm canvassing, I tell people this. Yes, you could want to vote for your representative, but I hope that you find out what policies and legislation your party that you are choosing will have in place. Because that is where your survival lies. That is what will make you or break you as a citizen. And I will say that to the non-voters, because some of you are saying, I still don't feel like voting. And let me tell you this. Stop asking if you have a viable opposition or viable FOD. What I want you to start asking is if you have a competent government. That's where your question should lie. Do you have a competent government? Who's looking out for you? Who's looking out for your interests? That is the question that we want every Barbadian to stand up and ask. Don't get fooled by the parties and the festivals and the fancies. A country needs transparency. A country needs proper accountability, proper checks and balances. A country needs proper legislation in place to ensure that you could live freely as a nation. A nation we know that will be subject to regulations, but not just regulations that will punish you and burden you as a people. That's a strong message, and I want that message to be heard by everyone here, even the persons who are living overseas. Tap into FOD. We are on Instagram. Listen to us. Go to Friends of Democracy 246. You heard us say today, we have full structure in place. We are a political party. We have the executive, we have the general membership, and we have candidates. So if they're thinking that we're on the losing side, they lie. We will work our way up. We know very well that you're going to creep before you can walk. And we want to ensure that you understand that we are fighting for your rights, not just for our rights. This is what real leadership looks like. Real leadership doesn't brag. Real leadership should deliver. It doesn't hide things from you. When you ask what was the cause of Carifesta, you should know. It reports. It doesn't oppress. It uplifts. A people first government would do these things, and I made sure I put them point by point, because I want you, if you're at home viewers, to write them down. I take this moment very seriously, you know. I want you to write them down. Everybody that is in here, if it's possible, take these notes. A people first government will consult before they control you. They will pay what they owe you, and they will pay you on time. They protect Bajans first. They fix schools before festivals. They will remove the value-added tax on food and lower the cost of living for your benefit. They will establish parish food centers for your easy living. And they will be transparent about every single dollar that they spend. They wouldn't make excuses. They will treat you, my beloved citizens, as how you are to be treated. So Barbados, my final statement to you is that yes, you will be hearing more from the Friends of Democracy. The Friends of Democracy has a whole set of policies that will benefit every citizen of this nation. We do not only support a certain people, we support the masses, right? We can't say that we only support one class of people, but we support every single person, from the small business owners to the individuals. We are supporting you, and our policies will be to the benefit of Barbados as a whole. And I want every Barbadian to sit down and seriously look at the pieces of legislation that the government has passed, and they had to two-step backwards and recognize that you should ask the question, do you have a competent government, and do you need a strong opposition? I thank you for your time, and I thank every one of you for coming out today. I thank you. Friends of Democracy is stating through me as the president, we love you, Barbados, and we are in this fight together as one. Have a good evening.
Oh boy, thank you so much, Madam President. Growing in stature, growing in stature. Somebody just WhatsApp me and told me that this young lady is really growing in stature, and I echo that sentiment. Well done, job well done, well done. Okay, we've come to the end of our meeting here this evening, and I want to first of all to thank the proprietors of J-Scape Bar and Lounge for facilitating our meeting here this evening in their most beautiful surroundings. And also I want to thank our streaming team who's been with us over the last number of months. Thank you so much, guys. And thank all of those people viewing us on our platforms. Of course, tomorrow you will be seeing it in the program package in its entirety, and you can have another look at it. I want to thank all of you here in the meeting who have traveled from the lengths and breadths of Barbados to be with us here this evening. We had a good crowd, and I really appreciate the presence of everyone here who would have shared in this meeting. So thanks again. We will soon be announcing our next meeting. You can stay tuned. And we will be, of course, enhancing and augmenting our platform as we move from strength to strength as a political party. You can be assured of that. As Madam President just said, we are also working on bringing in and garnering more candidates, and you'll soon be hearing of those also. So we're moving in leaps and bounds. I want to also invite you to patronize the bar downstairs. The bar has here some chicken wings and fish cakes, and also some drinks. And those of you who would have ordered shirts, and the shirts are here from the second batch of shirts that were ordered. So please don't leave. Reggie, I see you, and I'm so happy to see you out with us again. You had us worried, brother, but we're glad to see Reggie is here with us. Yes, Reggie's right here with us, man. So, so thanks everyone for coming out this evening, and do travel and get home safely, and may God continue to bless you and bless you abundantly. Thank you.